Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Not to get off track here, but I feel like we're in the Truman Show, and we're in a snow globe, and you just shook it up.
Welcome to reality.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. You are tuned into your protection from deception right here on TruthFrequencyRadio.com. And hold your hats if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, because you are tuned into the #1 show on TFR on Monday nights between the hours of 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, 9 to midnight Eastern. That show is Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and it starts now. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism, and usually with me is the lovely wife. However, she is currently sick. So everybody collectively, I know, it's sad. She did get a little bit better and then got worse. So looks like a flu. Please send your well wishes her way. And hopefully she gets better quick and is back next week. So you're stuck with me for 3 hours. Really, what could be better? That's how I look at it. If I was in your shoes, I would be dancing right now or parading in the streets. Just don't parade for too long or you might miss something. So thank you for joining me. To everyone out there, whether you're at home, whether you're in your car, in your personal motorcraft, or your hoverboard, thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate that. And want to say hello to everyone in the chat room and to all those, no matter where you are. Like I said, hopefully you're holding onto your hats if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. But we do want to say, as always, that we do thank you so much for taking the bottom half of the globe and allowing us to remain upright up here. That helps me out a lot. I don't think I'd be doing very well if I was Australian. So lots to talk about tonight. Let's start out with yesterday. So for those who don't know, which may be everyone, I don't know, I was supposed to go to a meetup on Friday night in Arcadia, but Thursday night, see if I get these dates right, Thursday night, Missa was throwing up. So come Friday, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, or I wasn't going to go alone. And so I said, okay, well, let me call and say I won't be there. But I still wanted to make it to the test on Sunday, which was at the Salton Sea. And so my plan was to go to that, and then Mrs. started to feel a little bit better on Saturday. So our plan was to go, but then last minute she wasn't feeling well, and she found out that the drive was 7.5 hours, and that made her feel even worse. So we decided against it. And I said, well, what I'll try and do is go live and get either Rob Skiba or Mark or somebody to pipe in with some video footage, and we'll film it. And that's what happened. I talked to Rob Skiba the night before. He said he'd give me a call in the morning when they got out to the test site. He did. And if you saw my channel on YouTube yesterday, there is a live stream from the Salton Sea. Now, many people have written me or sent emails or in other ways said, well, didn't that test prove the Earth to be a globe? And here's the problem with that line of thought. And if you watch my live stream, you'll see exactly what it showed and what Rob Skiba had predicted from the very beginning is what they would see exactly what they're looking for. And here's why. Now, tell me this. First off, of all the places to go, they chose the Salton Sea. If you don't know about the Salton Sea, neither did I, so I had to do a little bit of studying. But I did not know that it was 30% more saline, 30% more salt content than the Pacific Ocean. So that's number one. Number two, it is located in a bowl in the hottest part of California. The lake itself, the water level, is 230 feet below sea level. Okay, so you've got, that's the level of the lake. The water level is 230 feet below sea level. So that only helps. How's the globe figure out that little indentation and get back up? Anyway, so that's one of the issues. The other thing is it's a very geothermal active location. A lot of activity underneath it. In fact, some places around Salton Sea, there are bubbling mud bath things. Don't know how to explain them. But mud will basically pull up and bubble because it's so hot underneath the Salton Sea. So you have all that, and then you've got basically out of all the, if you don't count the hot springs, which I'm not going to for this moment. If you don't count the hot springs, the Salton Sea is the hottest lake that there is, meaning that at this time of year, between June and July, the lake can get to be 90 degrees, the water temperature. So I don't know if you've ever been in water before. A very warm pool is probably 80. And so this water is 90. And that's just too hot. That's damn near like a lukewarm spa. That's just no fun. But what does that create? If you've been in the flat earth, you've been doing any research, we know what happens when you've got water molecules that are escaping. We know that heat rises. We know that the warm water rises to the surface. The cold water, which is more dense, sinks, causing a distortion of the air above the water. So when your test is to look across 10 miles of water at the Salton Sea and then lift something up on the other side and determine the shape of the earth based on when you can see that item being lifted up, well, whoever planned that test knew exactly what they were doing, in my opinion, because that's what you will see. You have to wait until that balloon gets above that layer of atmosphere. Until that balloon can get above that distortion region, then you won't see it. And you never will. It's not a matter of, well, why can't we see it with a telescope? Well, because the telescope still has to break through all of that atmosphere. And a telescope isn't going to move you through any atmosphere. That's not what it does. The telescope enlarges or brings closer to your eye what you're looking at. So I thought that the experiment was kind of a setup. I'm kind of happy I didn't go. I would have probably got really frustrated and upset. Another thing is they determined that basically over this 10-mile stretch that there is about a 40-foot hump of water, I guess is what you would call it. And yet what I was trying to get them to see is that if you sent somebody to the, and I don't know what you would call this, but let's say they're measuring, just for example, they're measuring from north to south across this body of water. Okay. So if you sent somebody directly to the west or east end of that water and had them peer back and watch, for example, a boat go from the north position where they were on one side of the water, go across to the other side, the south position where the other team was, would they see the boat go up and down any 40-foot hump of water? Of course not. And this is the secret of secrets that is being kept from us, is that they have simply hijacked perspective and called it curvature. That is the whole end game here. That's everything that you need to understand to accept and come to grips with where you live versus what you're taught. And it's simple. I was thinking today, it's not flat earthers who are ignoring reality or choosing to ignore reality. We are choosing to ignore somebody's explanation for reality. And I get that a lot. Oh, you're just ignoring reality. You're just no, we're not. We have been able to look at what's been presented and make our determinations based on all of the evidence. And the evidence does not tell me that I live on a ball. The evidence tells me that, and I've heard people say, well, don't you think it's a coincidence, or do you think it's a coincidence that the numbers are so close? Well, it certainly is strange. So I could take that strange phenomenon and just say, oh, that means we're on a ball. Because one thing that you'll start to notice when you look at this is it seems that our eyes see about as far as the curvature calculator calls for. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we live on a ball? Well, again, there has to be more evidence. There has to be more evidence besides simply, well, it seems like things disappear about the time that the ball says they would. Because again, if you understand math in any way, then you know that math can be manipulated. If you watched my live stream the other night, I showed you things like a magic square, how to create a magic square with numbers, whatever numbers you want, 1 through 16 on a square of 4, 4 by 4, so 16 squares, and how to make it so that every direction adds up to the same, across, down, diagonal, every row, every column. And that's just an example of what you can do with numbers that have been created by man and have been allowed to basically be fuddled with, be configured, be rearranged for the last hundreds of years. That they can come up with anything, And they talk about it all the time, and they'll send you one direction, but then turn the corner and go over here, and they'll send you back that way, and then, hey, look over here, and they'll sneak one in. That's how they operate. And is it known to them? Well, I don't know that. It's not really a fair statement for me to say, oh, I know that these guys are lying. I know that they know the truth. I think what the case is they simply do not want anything else to be true. Now, that doesn't mean that they know that they're lying, because then technically they know that what they're saying isn't true. It's just they know that they don't want it to be the other. I don't know how else to explain it. They don't want the earth to be flat. When you become a science backer, when you become a scientist, when you become someone who trusts in men, in science, usually those people have been burned in some way or another by religion. I think all of us would admit that it's not very many people, at least in my generation, that were born with no religious affiliation, at least in this country, let's talk. So in the United States, most people were born with some sort of religious connection, be it their grandparents, aunt and uncle, something connected them in some way to religion. And most of the people who became scientists or backers of science were in some way jaded by religion, which is expected. It happened to me, it happened to Missa, it happened to many people, where you kind of bought into that religious paradigm, and at some point saw it for not being what you were told, what you thought. And in that case, you can become basically a religious hater. You can hate religions in lots of different ways. And what happens to most people, and I've said this before, but it's like these people that love science and hate Christians and hate religious people, they call Christians idiots. They'll say, oh, these Christians are such idiots. They believe in the Bible. They believe in this God and the God in the sky. But yet they dismiss God altogether based on the writings of people they just said were stupid. So they already said that they think Christians are dumb, that they think they're ancient desert wanderings, ancient desert wanderer believings, and that they just want nothing to do with them. But yet, because of the description that those people gave of the Creator, they've decided to completely say there is no Creator. And so instead, they work themselves into a different religion, a religion that tells itself or tells people that it's not a religion, when it is. It's a complete and total belief system. Science is a belief system. These guys out here at the lake yesterday, they had a belief system. Their belief system is that the earth couldn't possibly be anything other than a ball. That's what they've been taught. And so they go out and they perform these experiments and they look into these things, but they look from the perspective and do the test that they've been handed to do. And you have to think outside the box. You have to challenge that belief. But here's the problem. Many people don't want to. Is not for just the reason of they already think that they know, they just don't want anything else to be true. Whether that's a subconscious thing, I don't know. So you can tell me if you've had any experiences with any people like that. Phone lines are open, I believe. You can call in at 213-233-3998. So basically what they did is they looked across this body of water. Again, the balloon rose up and they said, okay, well, now we see it. And what height is that at? And the guy yells back 40 feet or 45 feet or whatever. And that's what they said. Basically, that was their conclusion, that we didn't see the balloon until 45 feet because there is this hump of water in the way. When really, in my opinion, you've got a layer of distorted atmosphere, which is just too cloudy, too congested, too clogged to see through. So you have to wait until the balloon gets above that layer. Now, a couple ways that we could test that, in my opinion. And so we're going to look into that. I know Rob Skiba and I were talking yesterday, a few different ideas. One of those ideas is to see, where is that camera pointed? So let's say, for example, you were to put a camera onto a level and you were able to determine when the camera was pointed completely straight, level, parallel with the ground, and when it had slightly kicked up and when it had slightly kicked down. And then what you do is you do the same test and see when they see that balloon, are they up? Is the camera tilted up? In that case, that would be part of the, part of a proof to show that they're actually not seeing it appear above a hill of water. They're actually looking up above the atmosphere, above the the area of distortion. So there's other ways that we could possibly do it. Let's go to the phones. We got a caller already. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from? Yellow.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you fine.
Hey, how's it going, Jeran? I've been wanting to call in for a while and talk to you.
All right, what's up?
Yeah, I seen your live feed, that Nat Geo experiment, and I talked to Mark about it, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. He was telling me he was going to be there, and I said, well, it's probably just going to be like everything else, just another setup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what shocked me was, did you see the boat that they brought and their equipment? You would think that being National Geographic, they could afford some better stuff than that.
Yeah, well, just to be clear, Nat Geo was there to film it, but there was some.
Oh, is that all it was? Okay.
Well, I guess the group is, and I'll get the exact name. They're like the international group of investigative. I don't know. They're the kind of people that go out and disprove anything. If you say you see ghosts, they'll go disprove it. If you say you have ESP, they'll go disprove it. Let me find out the exact name. So, but yeah, go ahead. I don't think Nat Geo was in charge of it.
So yeah, they were just there to film it and put it on TV, right?
As far as I know, yeah, that's the best. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that. But I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, but as far as what I've seen, all they proved pretty much was, just the distortion that the water would create.
Yep. Yeah, and well, go ahead, keep on.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to get to the point. I'll talk about it after I hang up with you. But I had to talk with Matthew Powerland today, and the reason, what it comes down to is these things. No matter what anybody thinks, and I know you called in and said, it's just another setup, and I see it the same way. But I also don't see it as, I'm not afraid of it, because here's the thing: nobody that is a flat earther watched what happened yesterday and now is not a flat earther. I would be willing to bet anything that nobody that's a flat earther watched that experiment and then came away from it and said, they proved that the earth is flat. I mean, the earth is a globe. So that would be, kind of afraid for me if I thought that people were going to start falling away for faulty experiments, but they're not. People are smart. People see exactly what is going on. So I look at it and I say that these things expose these people more than anything. When people find out that the Salton Sea is 90 degrees in temperature, when they find out that it was 105 there, when they find out that they went to the hottest place in the world. I mean, when you're talking about the highest record for the heat, it is at Death Valley, which is a rock's throw from Salton Sea. So you really have to start looking at, why was the experiment done there? Why was it done at the time of year it was done? Why was it done? Go back there in December and, do it in the middle of the night. They won't do that. And so I think the more that we expose that part of it, and it may not happen at once, and people need to realize that it's not, you can't be afraid of, the media is going to treat it this way, or they're going to show it this. Of course. It's not going to be any different. It's not like the media is going to start telling people the truth about flat earth, and if we have to play our cards right to make sure they do. The media will take it the way that the world takes it, the way you took it when you first heard it, which was to think it's crazy. Yeah. You're talking about the earth can't be flat. Yeah. So we have to remember that I want to position myself in a place where when people start looking into this, and I think if you're a globe believer and you tune in and you watch that experiment and you're like, yeah, okay, we showed them, and then later you find out, well, why was it done there? Well, the water's 90 degrees. That's hot. That's going to cause a vapor that's going to cause a distortion layer to more people's ears. I want more people to hear that somebody went out, like National Geographic actually went out to measure if the earth was flat. That alone is a big enough knock in the head for people to say, what? Why would National Geographic even go out and even entertain such a test? And that might cause them to go to YouTube.
So stupid, yeah.
Right, and start looking into it. So that's my hope.
Yeah. Well, my whole thought on it was, they picked that place. They knew what the result was going to be, and they already know that all the people that are flat earthers, hey, we can't fool them because, like me, I've been looking into this for over a year. Mm-hmm. And, we already knew what the test was going to show, because flat earthers have been doing this for how long now? They knew what was going to happen, but what they're trying to do is to make sure that they keep the rest of the population Because, you know, the average person that isn't a flat earther, when they see that, they're just going to believe it hook, line, and sinker. You know, oh, they prove the curve, you know.
Yep, I say more people than not, for sure.
But, like, yeah, more people than not, and they're trying to do kind of like damage control, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you said, hopefully it'll get more people looking the other way, too.
Well, that's my hope. I just think it's the only, you know, unfortunately, one of the benefits that we have that Samuel Rowbotham didn't have is things like the internet and television and media and news and newspapers and magazines. And to me, we have to be able to utilize those mediums. But obviously, I can't get on Channel 2 and have a show on Friday night for 2 hours. That'll never happen. So I look at it and I say, well, what's the best way to get, you know, this word out? And the only way sometimes is to kind of piggyback off whatever the media is going to do and just be ready to, you know, respond. I try to have my videos up and ready so that if people hear about Flat Earth, they go look. You know, I can't control what everybody else does, which is terrible because there's a lot of videos out there, you know, throwing, you know, mud back and forth at each other and saying this is a shill, and that's unfortunate. Yeah. But I can't control that. So I mean, things I can't control. I can't worry about.
Yeah, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. I think, you know, from my point of view, I think you and, you know, Bob and the Moore guy, you're all doing a great job. So I can't wait till the new Globebuster shows start, which that was all a big joke too, the strike they got. But
yeah, it's terrible. So we will be back next weekend. So it's a week from yesterday. Yeah. We'll be back with the new season. And just so you know, the group is called the IIG, the Independent Investigations Group. So it says they were formed in 2000, and basically whose goal was to spread a plague of skepticism across the world. Here, I mean, that's classic that they say that. They're skeptics about everything except for what they, you know. And even the guy yesterday said, and you brought it up, but the guy said we proved exactly what we knew we would prove. And you know, but I'll let you go. I appreciate the call.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. And so the problem with that for people listening is, and because many people would say, well, Jeran, you would go out, and if you were trying to prove Flat Earth, you would say, well, I proved exactly what I was trying to prove. And the answer to that is, of course. You have to first recognize the difference between somebody going out to prove the mainstream already believed thought process or facts versus somebody who's going up against those facts. There's such a big difference. It is not okay to be, you know, here's the truth, we live on a ball, okay, we live on a ball, and then you've got these groups going out and saying, we already know it's a ball, and we're going to go out and prove, and with these experiments that we already know, and we're just going to go out and prove it's a ball, and we don't even consider the alternative. When it's somebody like me who says, I'm going out to prove that this going paradigm is wrong, then it's totally different. It's completely different. It's actually okay, in my opinion, for me to go out with the intent of proving that wrong and saying, yep, this test showed exactly what I thought it would, because I'm trying to do a test to prove that wrong. And as people, as a society, as citizens, we should embrace people who are out there trying to debunk whatever the going belief is. Embrace that. Because if somebody can find a test that shows that the globe is wrong, then that's fantastic. That's what we're trying to show. We think it's a lie, so we're trying to show that. And it doesn't matter what the belief is, whatever current belief I have, if somebody is doing a test, even with the sole intent of showing me that something I believe is wrong, then I love that. That's what I want. If I want to know the truth, then it doesn't matter what avenue somebody's taking to show me that. Go ahead, go do whatever test you have to. I don't care if you're trying to get a certain result. If that's the truth, it's the truth. And the difference between somebody who just says, nope, we've already been told the truth, and I'm going to go out and repeatedly prove it. And there's so many channels like that on YouTube, so many radio shows like that already think they know the truth. And so what do they go out and do? Well, I mean, Wolfie 6020, airline pilot, last equinox, he flew to Hawaii to film the sunset at 270 degrees west. It's like, what? What did you do that for? What does that prove? Yeah, the sun sets at 270 west on the equinox. Fantastic. That doesn't prove it's a globe. They told you that. They've told us all. The sun sets here at 270. Okay, great. So that's not a test. You're not out trying to debunk anything. You're just like taking what they give you and saying, oh, I'm going to go prove this. Well, of course you're going to prove that. That's not what we're looking for. So anyway, And again, because obviously the tests that they've given us have not sufficed some people in proving what they think it'll prove, because there's other explanations. And again, we're not ignoring reality. We're ignoring other people's rendition of reality, because you can take things many different ways. You can take things and say it's this, or you can say it's that. And unless it meets my reality, then I shouldn't accept it. There's no reason to. There's no reason to accept that stars are 25 trillion miles away. Until it's been proven to me, no reason to accept it. No reason to accept that Saturn's a planet that's 10 times as big as the Earth, and Jupiter's a planet and it's 100 times as big as the Earth, and the sun is a big fiery ball of gas and it's out in empty space, and all those things may be true. They may be true. But why would I accept them? Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We'll be back with more.
Tell me about the waters of your homeland, Marty.
It is well known that the key to escaping the matrix is purifying your consciousness. But our consciousness is bombarded daily with chemicals in the air we breathe, the food we eat, and the water we drink. This is why we are proud to bring you TFRwater.com, where you can get the Alexa Pure water filtration system. Unlike typical water filters, the Alexa Pure comes standard in stainless steel to keep your water free of BPA and dangerous chemicals found in plastic. This revolutionary water filtration system removes 99.999% of all contaminants, including fluoride, a dangerous neurotoxin added to drinking water, which was first used in Russian gulags to keep prisoners docile. This is standard without the need for expensive add-ons. The Alexa Pure retails for $199, but you can get $50 off by going to TFRwater.com now. Supplies are limited. 4 per person, please.
Tired of writing checks every month for your timeshare? Checks big enough to buy a car with instead of to a timeshare you can't even use when you want? Need a way to get out of that contract that they hoodwinked you into signing? Then contact Resort Release. Take it from me, Matt Ray. When you're ready to leave the timeshare nightmare behind, these are the guys you need. Resort Release has the know-how to permanently and legally terminate your timeshare contract. Call 888-255-3611 and find out why they've been able to help tens of thousands of people like you legally end their timeshare disaster. Resort Release gives a 100% guarantee that you legally and permanently walk away. If you don't get out of the contract, you don't pay a dime. Period. And they have a Better Business Bureau rating of A+. Call Resort Release now, 888-255-3611, 888-255-3611. That's 888-255-3611, or go to resortrelease.com.
One night, a man had a dream he was walking along the beach, listening to Jeran and Mitha on Monday Night Raw.
Across the flat horizon flashed scenes from his past, and he realized life wasn't what he was taught.
For each scene, he noticed 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to him and the other to Jeranism.
When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back in the sand and noticed many times along his path there was only one set of footprints. He realized they happened at the lowest times of his life, and so he questioned Jeranism about it.
Guys, you said if I listened to your show, you'd be with me all the way. But in my times of need, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why when I needed you both the most, you would leave me.
My dear child, we love you and would never leave you.
When you see one set of prints, that's because it wasn't on a Monday.
Need a friendly voice? Call Grandma.
But if you need truth at all costs, then join us for a threesome.
Ooh.
Mondays 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific, only on truthfrequencyradio.com.
We are TFR.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
Truth Frequency Radio. I guess you would have to. Well, you get pregnant at the end of the year and not have the baby, this year. So I guess pregnant.
Interesting. Okay, for me, it's a weird entertainment prediction, but I do think that there will be a all-time high, which is kind of weird to say, but of movie-related deaths. There'll just be a lot of them.
More than, 3?
Well, probably more than 10.
It'll be like an onslaught of just a flowage of deaths.
They will just, and here's my other prediction, which should go without saying, but as the years go on, that will increase and increase and increase to the point where there'll be a few years, 10, 20 years from now, that it will be like every day, because it's the amount of people that have been in movies
that were around during the movie time.
Yeah, we're about 10, 20 years away from that being a time where we just start seeing, we'll all hear names every day that we know of people that died.
So I think a number, over
10.
Over 10, because I think about 10 celebrities die a year.
No, I'm talking about this will be a few big names this time, like a Cosby, like a Anthony Hopkins, like a Charleston Heston,
or a Tom Hanks, like the big guys.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's 8 of the big guys, but then 2 or 10 of the
I would lose.
But who's to say which ones are big ones?
Me.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why it'll probably be a win. But
okay, Nostradamus.
No, this B-level actor died. Bitcoin price. So today, I will get the Bitcoin price today. By the way, today is the birthday of the great and powerful, the one and only Kim Jong-un.
The one and only actor of the acting head or actor.
The crazy guy who's launching bombs up 2,500 miles in the sky, and we're supposed to be scared of that, as if in their world of satellites and everything, they would just allow that. This really makes a lot of sense.
He's an actor, and all of that they tell us about Korea is all fake. It's all a stage. It's all not real. So I don't think he even has a birthday, because
that's funny, because they don't tell his subjects or his citizens don't know his birthday either.
Yeah.
According
supposedly
to
they don't.
People.
He's supposedly ascended from heaven, or descended from heaven.
Well, his father and grandfather their birthdays are national holidays.
Interesting.
But that whole story, if you go back and listen to the Eddie Bravo interview, he talked a lot about it. It's just a lot of nonsense when you realize what happened after World War II, and to think that just Russia just walked away from that and let them become the North Korean,
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all just nonsense.
You can have this little tail end of our country and do whatever you want. Yeah, right.
So the Bitcoin price today is $15,270.
That's a 40.
But it was 270 when I wrote this down.
Okay.
It is 240 on the screen. Now it's 250. What do you think now? Now you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. I'm wrong now, too. That's true.
Okay, so 15,250. What will be the price on July 1st? And what will be the price on December 31st?
July 1st of next year, or of this year, will be 19,000 thereabouts.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, it'll be 30.
30,000 by the end of the year?
No, $30. I'm just kidding. 30,000.
Okay, I like that one. I'm going to go with July 1st, it will be 13,000. December 31st, 16,000. I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Natural disasters.
Ching chong, ching chong, ching chong, ching
chong. Ching chong, ching chong.
My soundboard died, so I don't get to use it.
Yeah, we got a laptop, or what is that called? iPad. Laptop, because
I did get it from Craigslist, and it was really inexpensive, so maybe that was the reason why it was so cheap.
Probably, and when we try and charge it, it goes no.
Yeah,
you're not going to get charged.
You have to have it off in order to charge it. That's what it is. It never used to be like that, actually.
It's not charged right now.
No. Okay, so my
natural disaster.
Natural disaster. You first or me?
I can go first. I'll just predict there'll be an earthquake over 8 this year.
Wow, that's huge. Anywhere in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Any specific continent, maybe, if you want to get specific?
Northwestern United States and Alaska region.
Wow, that's very specific. I was almost saying continent, but that's very specific.
Well, that little tip curve place.
Great.
Over there.
Sounds good to me.
If
you get it right, that'd be awesome.
What would be sad is if it got it right, but it's right wherever we live. That would be the worst. Baby, I predicted that the house would fall today. Yes.
That would be terrible.
If you have never lived through them, I still don't understand how anybody could live through tornadoes or hurricanes versus earthquakes, but they're not fun when they happen.
You've been through one, no?
Been through what?
I don't know.
A tornado or?
Yeah, no.
No, I never have. But I'm just saying the fact that people say that they think earthquakes might be worse, which I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean tornadoes completely dig up everything and throw everything everywhere. Almost, I guess, kind of similar to earthquakes, but not. It depends on how big the earthquake is.
Well, I don't think there's any earthquake that's ever done anywhere near the damage that
I've learned a tornado.
Tornadoes. But again, there's more of those, so I don't know.
What I don't understand is why people rebuild their homes in the same place as where the tornado went through.
Well, the same
Why would
thing,
you do that?
The same thing might be said of people who rebuild their homes in San Francisco.
Sure,
the
I agree.
06 earthquake.
Why would you rebuild your home anywhere where there's a disaster?
Although, if you really want to know my opinion, which probably turns people off, but I think that the 06 earthquake in San Francisco was not as real as people think.
06?
1906.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
I think that, well, that's when Bank of America got its start, number one, because supposedly all these banks burned down, and he somehow saved all the money from his bank and went and opened up little cardboard stands on the corner of the street, lending people money who needed to rebuild houses.
So you think an earthquake happened, but he ended up lighting all these banks on fire?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think that a lot of people lit their house on fire to collect insurance money.
Okay. But what about
I do think there was an earthquake. I don't think it was as big and as deadly as they say, or as catastrophic as they say. Because, again, these people all rebuilt their houses exactly where they were. If your house was destroyed, I'm pretty sure you would move. I don't think
that happens all over the place. People rebuild where there's landslides and people rebuild all the time.
I don't know. I can't picture it.
But it happens. Like down in the hurricane, people rebuild their homes right there, like 5 times.
And the other thing is the fire burned. I want to look that up and find out.
I want to know why you say that. Like, what was it based on pictures or based on the?
Yeah, there is some picture evidence, but it's pretty bad. Oops.
Was it only because that the Bank of America?
It's the amount of time it says it burned. The fire burned again. I'm just not a big fan of those stories.
Yeah.
There's also I've seen quite a few. I don't know if it's a book or if it's like it was a PDF, but I don't remember if it was a book or what. But just reading about how a lot of these politicians and business people and people in the media at the time were basically telling people, we're gonna say it was this, we're gonna elaborate about this, kind of making, and then here's what happened. Then it caused people from Japan to come over to San Francisco. That's what started the whole. No, that guy was already there, but it started like the tourism to San Francisco. Like it was basically sparked the economy. It did a lot of good, even though they talk about it being right. And also people moved there because they heard like, now they're going to rebuild buildings. There's going to be places to live. So it could have been a.
Sounds very agendic.
It kind of might have been agendic.
Could it be post-agendic or like they after the fact gained from
True,
it?
That might be the case, and it might also be that it wasn't that big. But I mean, look at this as a picture of like a street. This looks like the end of the world.
Wow, that looks like the towers.
I mean,
like
these pictures here, like
rubble.
these people just all stand on the street looking. With these the sides of the house here are gone, but the inside of the house is just
like
fine.
an explosion.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous.
That's not like a.
Oh, have you ever seen this one? This is an aerial view of the city 5 weeks after. I'm sorry, that's not real.
That's fake.
This photograph taken by George Lawrence from a series of kites. Sorry.
Kites?
Yeah, I guess in the old days they would have to take kite pictures. That would be their drone footage.
How funny. This is our kite imagery.
So yes, it looks like the whole. I mean, I don't know.
That's all they are.
I lived through the '89 earthquake. I was at the Candlestick Park when it happened, and I just remember seeing what it looked like after, and it was nothing even close to that. Yeah, the freeway fell. There was a lot of damage. 60 people died.
Something like that.
And granted, we are further along. We have better built buildings and things than back then.
True.
But just the difference totally just doesn't look right to me. They didn't have the kind of equipment to measure its size, yet they still will state now what the size was. And let me find if I can, because I wanted to look up what they said how long the fire burned, which is I want to say 3 weeks, which sounds crazy.
Can I say my prediction?
Sure, go ahead with yours.
Okay, my prediction is that there's going to be eruption, a volcanic eruption somewhere that's going to like take out a city underneath it.
Okay, so like a deadly volcanic eruption.
Fatal.
So the San Francisco earthquake, as a result, up to 3,000 people died, and over 80% of the city of San Francisco was destroyed.
80%?
Yeah, that's...
Wait, meaning in terms of obviously not the people, 80% of the buildings?
I guess if it just says 3,000 people died and 80% of the city of San Francisco was destroyed. Here's the other thing. Out of the 3,000 people that died, I read that like...
How many people died?
3,000 people died.
I thought you said 60 earlier.
60 people? No, that was in the 1989 earthquake.
Sorry.
1989 earthquake, like 62 people died. In this one, 3,000 people died, but somebody went back and looked at all those, and over half, 1,800 of those deaths were due to cops shooting people.
Okay.
So whatever was going on at the time was causing the cops to have to tell people to shut up, and they got shot.
Wow.
So a lot
Probably
of them
because there was a lot of looting. Is that what it's called?
I think some of it might have been that. Yep. Yeah, so 3,000 people died, 80% of the city destroyed. The events are remembered as one of the worst and deadliest earthquakes in the history of the United States. It says the death toll remains the greatest loss of life from a natural disaster in California's history and is high in the list of American urban disasters.
Well, yeah, because it happened in San Francisco, but I felt it in Monterey.
You're talking about the 89? This is 1906. Which one are you talking about? The 89?
89.
You felt it in Monterey.
Obviously, I didn't feel it in 1906.
For the record, you were 2 years old, and I'm calling bullshit on you feeling that earthquake. But I know you say you did.
I did, because we don't have pictures of it or video of it, so I'm not referring to any videos or pictures I saw. I remember standing where it was standing and watching the drawers fall out of the kitchen.
So much like I remember throwing the spoon in the cup of my brother, I don't think I actually remember that, but the story told over and over again enters your mind as part of your your memories.
Do you remember? Tell me something visually that you remember of that night. If you really remembered it, do you remember a
throwing
shirt?
The spoon?
Yeah. Do you remember a color shirt? Okay, so
I remember where I was sitting.
Okay. You don't remember anything else?
I remember throwing the spoon. I remember where my brother sat. But see, these are the things. My brother sat there all my life when we ate dinner. So of course that's where he sat.
Okay, so
I
then
knew
you
where
don't.
The high chair
so then
was.
you really didn't remember then. But I know I did. I know I remember that.
You do remember. Mm-hmm. And that's what they say. They say your first memory is usually something catastrophic. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll uncall bullshit
Thank
on that.
you.
How old were you, though? You were less than 2.
No?
You were, yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you were less than 2.
So there you go. I was awakened very young.
1 year, very early, very awoke. Very early.
Not saying I remember the day after, though. I don't.
Right, no, and you wouldn't. But you remember what people were wearing?
I remember that it was dark. I remember that there was no lights in the house. I remember being dark.
But it wasn't dark outside.
It was not dark outside because I could see the street. But
Okay.
it was dark in the house.
Gotcha.
And
did you guys pay the electric bill?
Probably not.
Okay.
Just kidding. But I remember seeing from the bathroom, seeing in the kitchen, the kitchen drawers were shaking and spoons were falling out. That's what I remember.
What were you doing in the bathroom?
My mom was holding me. I don't know if it was my mom. I don't know if it was my mom. I didn't ask her or whatever. But we were standing in the doorway of the bathroom.
Oh, gotcha.
Because you're supposed to stand in doorways,
And
I guess.
spoons were flying out of the drawers.
Yeah.
When we got home, which is crazy because it took us, the game was supposed to be at 5:30 or whatever, and we didn't leave the parking lot. They didn't let us leave the parking lot to get on the 101 until midnight, and we didn't get home till 6:30 a.m. And there was no cell phones. It was like tough for people to even know that we were okay or whatever. But when we got home, the whole kitchen cabinets, everything was on the floor of the kitchen.
Oh, man.
And I remember driving around town, and there was a couple people's chimneys that fell.
Oh, okay, wow. I remember my mom telling me that she remembered. I don't remember this, but she remembers seeing the street and the road outside, and it was rolling. Like the concrete was like rolling, like breaking and rolling.
And it wasn't a shaking earthquake, which again, and that's another thing I don't know about earthquakes. I think for the most part, all the ones that I remember have been the rolling kind, and that doesn't do as much damage as a shaking one does, right?
Like striking, they're called like strikes or something. Strike ones.
I don't know. Yeah, I just know that they are much different. And I remember we were sitting front row of the upper deck, and and I was 9. And I'll always remember, now that's like a real memory, because I can remember the guy sitting right behind us when, after it was over, he stood up and said, all right, rock and roll. And the crowd went crazy because you're inside of an arena or an inside, Candlestick Park.
And you thought the game was going to continue too.
Absolutely. There was no reason to think that the game wouldn't go on. It was kind of like a rally call, like, all right, earthquake, let's go.
Yeah.
But then people noticed right away that the power was out. There was no power in the stadium.
Yeah.
And it was still daytime enough that it wasn't like the lights were on and then the lights went off. It was
so
just,
that makes sense why it was dark in my house, but not
right,
outside.
because it's 5 o'clock. And I remember looking around and saying, oh, the lights are off. And then you started to see players come on the field and their families started going down. And then people with TVs, they had little TVs, portable TVs. Then we started hearing people talking. They were saying things like the Golden Gate Bridge collapsed, Oakland Coliseum collapsed. They were just saying, of course, when news reports start coming out, you start hearing this kind of nonsense. So right away then we knew, all right, this game's not going to go on if the Bay Bridge collapsed. So, crazy story, but we had one more.
Oh, yeah.
A breaking news. So you said volcano taking out a city.
Mm-hmm.
Now how many people?
Do I have to say how many?
No.
Okay, good.
Just
Because
kidding.
I don't want to get too specific.
We don't.
I mean, it's like the give and take. It's like half and half. Like, do I get specific? So then when it happens and it's specific, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a prophet. Or do you go general? So then when you get it right, you're still super excited. Like, which one do you choose? Prophet or just low life?
I say you just go with just volcano.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you have a breaking news prediction?
I do. Mine is this is a very general one, but I believe I'll hit it on the mark because of the generality that it ensues. Okay, so an Asian country is going to go bankrupt. That'll be the breaking news. Some Asian country is going to go bankrupt.
An Oriental country?
Okay,
Asian country going bankrupt. Got it.
Okay.
I'm going to go with I think it's going to be a year that there will be no false flag mass shooting.
A whole. Okay.
She almost left the room, ladies and gentlemen. I just have
Is
this.
the government still in control?
Maybe not.
Okay. They would have to not.
I think that they messed up so bad in Vegas that they may take a year off.
Maybe 6 months. I don't know about it. Maybe a year.
I'm going with the prediction.
You know
I'm
what?
predicting.
That's
I'm
not
throwing
bad.
it out there. Throwing it out there.
Write it down because that's a very
It's written down.
interesting one.
Oh, wait, no, it's not.
It's not. See, I knew it wasn't.
Will you stop copying off my work? Teacher. Excuse me. That's another funny story. Do you remember the first time you got caught cheating at school?
Yes.
Yeah, that's when. Well, how old were you? 1?
No, I was in high school. Which I was in high school.
So was I.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had I had a Spanish test, and I had on a little tiny piece of paper, I had all the words written down, and then the actual translations had them all written down, and I placed it underneath my paper and was doing the test, doing just fine. And I'd look up, the teacher would be looking down, so I'd lift my paper up, look, put it down, do the answer. So one particular time, I looked up, he wasn't looking at me, I looked down, lifted the paper, read it, and as I was reading it, looked up and caught eyes at the same time.
No.
I can still remember like my thumb releasing the paper so it'd fall back down. Like, okay, didn't see that. And then I'm just like, and then you could hear the steps coming. And I was like, fine.
It's over.
He grabbed my paper, marked a big 0 on it, and then said, get out. And I was like, oh. And that's the most embarrassing thing. You're in a class of 30. And remember, I went to an all-boys school, which I actually do think is a good thing versus co-ed schools. But we'll get to that later. But when you do something like that and you've got 30 guys, they're just ready to just laugh their ass off at you. And it's pretty embarrassing to leave the room with my 0 on my test.
That's really sad. You want to hear my story? Well, my story is
certainly
actually, I actually got the person that I was cheating off of in trouble. So
I know how that person must feel.
That's my best friend, Christine, from high school.
Okay.
It was in, I think, what was the class? It was like biology or something like that, but I was straight up cheating straight off her paper, like, because she was really smart and I was like, I didn't give a shit. So I was like totally looking at her paper, looking back and forth. I was being kind of obvious about it for some stupid reason. I was just dumb. I thought I could get away with it. And then the teacher walks over and I didn't even think about it, and she grabs both of our papers and she's like, okay, that's it. I'm like, what? Like, no, sorry,
you're done.
You don't get to finish that. And then our grade that we got back was the F, failure. I felt bad because
she should have gotten not an F.
Yeah, but I guess because she sort of had her paper like next
she may
to
have been
me,
helping
like,
a little bit.
But it was definitely me, the cheater. She wasn't. But how would you know who was copying who? I guess would be the teacher's excuse.
I would go with the smart person was probably not copying off. I I'm pretty sure she had a grade book that she could look at and say,
what is the history here? C, C, D, C, and straight A's.
I bet you this straight A's has been copying off this one the whole time, and this one's just throwing the grades so that I don't know.
It was a one-off. She didn't study it, I did.
Oh, that's too funny.
Anyways,
so when we come back,
but I was not 1 year old, by the way. I did recognize your joke, and it was mean, but it was funny.
It wasn't mean. It was more accurate than mean. Which
inaccurate.
If it's rude, wrong. If it's rude, it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That is the thing.
Yeah.
So I was saying that when we get back from the break, which is coming up, I believe, here in a few seconds, we will be on the phone with the great and powerful Matthew Powerland. We'll start out with some questions about his level of belief in our FBI-ness. And
affiliation.
Yes. From there, I want to find out some things that he's doing down in Vegas and some ideas he had in a recent video. I still watch his videos unless he's singing, in which case I do not watch.
He's not. He doesn't sing.
Unless he's playing music. Unless there's music playing.
Unless there's sound other than talking.
Unless he's holding a guitar and strumming it in such a way that usually music comes out, sometimes noise.
I'll listen if his wife is playing the keyboard.
Oh, she does an excellent job of playing the keyboard. Yeah, a lot of
I like it.
Pre-programmed beats.
I think if we ever met both of them together, I mean, we met him already, but them now as a couple, I think we would get along. She seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah, minus the FBI accusations.
Okay, well, she never accused us of FBI. He did.
True. He also said we're making baby skin journals.
But that was one time. He didn't say that more than once.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was just one time.
And she also said that she didn't know anything about it. So I still...
That's why we like her.
That's why we like her.
Because he said...
And that might be partially why I still know.
He said Jeran and Miss are making baby skin journals and selling them on their site. And then she was buying them like, what? I don't know anything about that.
Like, good girl.
Good girl. Way to go.
So anyways, and like I do with all of our guests, I always ask personal questions like, were you raised religious or not? I always ask everybody, so I hope people
don't get all weird about it. We'll be right back, guys. Matt?
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, Squared with Brooks Agnew, Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, Jeranism RAW with Jeran and Missa, Fearless with Frank Castle, Strange World with Mark Sargent, The Eye of Ra with Rob Castaldo, The Infinite Bridge with Billy Ray, Ironworks with Josh Corey, Phoenix, The Ken Baker Show, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll-free at 833-TFR Live. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception. Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Special report, North Korea summit. The high-stakes meeting between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is getting underway in Singapore.
The Capella Resort on the island of Sentosa here in Singapore is the setting. President Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un meeting face-to-face, and a historic first of its own. President Trump has said he will be able to tell within the first few minutes if Kim is someone with whom he can cut a deal, to use the president's language. And that could be put to the test right away, since Mr. Trump and Kim will be alone with just interpreters at the start, no aides in the room. If that meeting lasts long enough, it would be perceived as a good sign. Eventually, the full delegation will join the leaders to discuss if it's possible to move forward with denuclearizing North Korea. Bob Costantini with the president in Singapore.
Former NBA star Dennis Rodman is also in Singapore. Rodman told reporters he wasn't sure if he would meet Kim on this trip. Rodman has said he would give whatever support is needed to his friends Trump and Kim. He is one of the few Westerners to have met the North Korean leader. I'm Ann
Thought he should be fired for the terrible job he did until
President Trump has tweeted tonight that White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow has suffered a heart attack. The 70-year-old Kudlow is being treated at Walter Reed Medical Center outside Washington, D.C. The president says Kudlow had been working so hard on trade and the economy. U.S. allies continue to condemn President Trump's refusal to sign a free trade communique drafted at the G7 meeting in Quebec. Correspondent Atika Schubert with the reaction from Germany.
The Germans seem less angry and just more exasperated, really. Clearly disappointed at what's happened, but not surprised. I mean, you know, the Iran deal, the Paris Climate Accord, and now the G7. Chancellor Merkel had an interview last night on TV. She said that she gets the impression that the president believes there can only be one side that wins, the other side loses.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up 6 points. The S&P 500 gained 3. The Nasdaq interest rates after the recent hike by the Federal Reserve. On Wall Street, the Dow down 44 points. The S&P gaining 1. I'm Ann Cates.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Walk like us. They even talk like us. Walk like us. But they are not like us. On the weekday, you can see the signs, you can see the signs. They wear the disguise. Look into the mind's eye. There's nowhere to hide. Don't stick all the lies. Whispers from afar.
Well, now the only thing that might make sense about that is the call I just made from the Skype is it would not.
The only thing that makes sense about that is I used to pay for NASA and I blew the whistle on them. That's it.
That may be it.
Capricorn 1, the guy's running into the guy's house and putting a bag of coke in his fucking medicine cabinet. I mean, this is the games they play. They're cheating. They created a web so they can cut down signals and infiltrate, political scientists that are not playing ball.
Well, that's the only thing they can do is cheat. Yeah. We're doing good. How are
you doing?
We are doing fantastic.
How are you doing?
Can you hear my wife or no?
Great. It's great to hear from you. Are you able to do the interview from the phone?
Well, that's what we're doing right now. We're on the radio.
Okay,
we're live.
So we're on live. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have the phone held up to the microphone, and they can hear you, and I can hear you, and Missy can hear you. But let me see if you can hear my wife. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear your wife. It's just that you're not too loud on my end.
Okay.
That's it. I'll just come closer then.
Yeah, and it will be. They can hear her on the radio because she's obviously on her microphone. So.
Okay.
Question for you, real quick. Tell us. We would love to know. Do you still think that we are FBI agents? That's the first question.
We're surrounded by them. I told you this from day one.
We're surrounded by them.
You're like, I just want to go get along. If I can make money telling the truth, I'd rather do that in my life. So, I mean, and I respect that. It's just that there's obviously some people around you that where's the money coming from this? Because it's certainly not a money maker.
Google.
I was always worried about. Put it this way: how does a man who just finds out about the flat Earth in 2014, right, and then writes a book on the psychological reactions people have when you approach them about the Earth not being a ball, and then puts it on the market in 2015. How do you find out about the Earth being flat in a foreign country where you don't speak the language, and then manage to be an expert immediately to write a book and then put it on market? You know what I'm talking about.
Eric Dubay.
Yeah, Eric Dubay.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So
it's
the
weird.
narrative of Eric Dubay that I called out has played out because I'm a counterintel, expert. I know how to infiltrate movements. And the narrative with Mark Sargent, I'm sorry. We had to. Okay. And so it played out as well. So both narratives that I called out within 2 months of these two characters showing up in my work, it played out. So how would I know that? Some people say, well, I'm CIA. Or I've just been watching how they infiltrate any kind of revolution, be it Occupy movement. Now, it doesn't preclude that space that we're opening up here wouldn't put an olive branch out to Eric Dubay or Mark Sargent to prove us wrong. Come out here and show that you're really sincere about this whole thing. I know you think he is because you went out to the conference. My concern is not about the sincerity of the individual. It's the final net result. And the net result is, my concern is that it's either dismissed as cult or it's dismissed as something radical and like racist or dangerous.
Let me just tell you my.
The media's gone with those two smears from those individuals. So.
Just my opinion of everyone simply comes down to do they act as they always acted? Are they, for the most part, consistent? And Mark Sargent, to me, has always been consistent. He hasn't been, sometimes he's really on top of things, and sometimes he's not, or sometimes he has good interviews, and sometimes all his interviews are the same. He says the same things. He's just Mark Sargent. So to me, now granted, he does say that that there's a dome, and he just, but that's his opinion.
Some sort of electromagnetic plasma field, but when we get into like the fundamentalist Christian who wants to immediately jump to the assertion that it's glass, there's a glass ceiling. And so it's like, well, I have no problem with that. I actually think it's quite entertaining. And I've developed a space here in Las Vegas where I think it would be an ideal space. It's like, like debating a globalist without them not even debating us, but rather just like them relying on the preconditioned notion that anything flat is retarded. That's their only angle here. They can't debate us. So, I'd love to have a debate with a globalist, but I also think it's important that we do this like Leibniz and Newton and all the people back in the day, and we have a space where we can have debates about, what is this flat Earth model? What is the map? And so I think I propose maybe you should debate Jake Gibson. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because Jake doesn't have an alternative. He just sounds like a Glober more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think the place here, for me, represents an alternate to the ball, no matter what it is. And I think street traffic walking down on the Strip, if people are handing out a flyer going, you know, flat Earth debate or hollow Earth debate versus flat, or dome flat disk versus more land flat Earth, or flat Earth versus globe. I mean, the idea that they're walking past here and they're going concave Earth or hollow Earth or the fuck is this?
Right.
You know, just the idea that this is still up for debate in 2018, I think is fascinating. And I think at least at that level, even though I've said my piece with what I think is fake and what I think is real and who's a plant and, you know, where, you know, this person's, you know, obviously an insert to kind of be a go-to for media. Regardless of all that, I think the field has been set where flat Earth is not necessarily one of the two things that the media is trying to paint it as. It could be many different models and different things, and it's open to every race and every religion and every knower and even the atheist. And we're at a moment where we need to, you know, like, this thing doesn't work out, the math of this cartoon. So what the fuck is it? And so, pardon my French. So what the heck is it? And so I think having a pavilion that showcases other models of the surface of our Earth is mind-blowing. And to be in Las Vegas, I think it's like the ultimate sort of place to be. It crashes the scene. It crashes all the has-been, you know, cirque shows of Donnie and Marie on the Strip. And it actually caters to more the new metric that's coming into Vegas, which is more like they're coming out for the recreational pod. It's legal now in Las Vegas. We beat California at making it recreational. Can you imagine that? I mean, I think it's recreational now in California. Not that I'm a pot smoker or anything, but I'm thinking that metric is not necessarily a gambling metric, and they're not necessarily a Celine Dion crowd.
And that is that is true that Matthew does not smoke, because I offered him some and he turned it down. So that is true.
So I think this is a place where we could explore.
Well, let me start off by telling people what we're talking about, because they may not know. Matthew, in a recent video, basically, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, has secured a spot in Las Vegas that he seems to be staying in, and he did a good video recently talking about the possibility of getting a bunch of us down there. He's described as 100 people wearing the photo or painting shirt and mobbing the streets of, huh?
Exactly. Yes, yeah. I think that's a good start.
I think it is too.
Start with the globe, and then is this a photo or painting? And that is enough of a pro. I've had my life turned upside down just by questioning that. I mean,
yeah, everybody has. Yeah, I mean, all of us that are in this definitely know how the feeling is. And I think that
they don't like that shirt. I've noticed that when they do a smear video of me, as long as I'm wearing that shirt, they don't take footage of me. So I wear the shirt also as like an amulet, because I think they've been given like ordinance by their superiors, whatever it is, take this guy down, but you can't use footage when he's wearing the shirt, because then you're going to be promoting that question. That question will override any kind of smear video.
To me, if you're talking about really spreading the word, if you had 100 people in photo or painting shirts on the street, downtown Las Vegas, you would be able to stop any group of people coming towards you. They're all going to be wondering, what is this group of 100 people? What are they wearing?
They have the virus. Like, if we were to go, Fremont Street is a perfect place to do this, and the Strip in general. And if there's 100 of us coming in these black shirts, just down Las Vegas, you have everybody in the world comes to Las Vegas. It's an international small town. So, and it's the cheapest place to fly into, and it's all mouth breathers. I mean, apart from the locals, you know what I mean? There's a the bottom feeder that, they're walking around with their mouth open, they're going to gamble, they're going to the buffet. And I think that they don't have any kind of critical, I don't want to insult them, the tourists, because there's some great people that come out here and some very smart gamblers too, until they lose, and then they want to shoot up the whole crowd, if you believe that narrative.
No.
Lombardi owns stock in Mendeley Bay. He's the sheriff of the city, so it's a conflict. Anyways, we don't talk about that here because we don't want people to be scared. It's like New York after 9/11. It's like, come to Vegas. As a matter of fact, I think that shooting actually increased. increased traffic. There's more people coming here than ever. It was the weirdest.
That's funny that you said that, because I just was talking about the 1906 earthquake and said that it brought business to San Francisco. Yeah. I said it was actually, that you turned it into a positive.
Did you have an earthquake there?
No, in 1906, the San Francisco earthquake. We were just talking about that before you came on. But anyway,
before I came up, it was good to have it. So the earthquake was good for business.
It was good for business in 1906. Yeah, brought people over. They needed to rebuild San Francisco, so people came over from Japan.
Rebuild. There was no rebuild here, and then people just came out. I don't know. It was like the thrill. Like it was like, Las Vegas, and I got shot.
Where's the next country music concert I can go to?
Yeah, it was like a ride. We get to run. We get to run from the country music shooter. You know what I mean? Like it's like a ride. You know what I mean? Because they're all coming here to get, to lose cash, come close to losing everything.
That thing is such a disaster. It's just such a mess.
Psychology. People come to Las Vegas. They come here for coming close to losing everything and the thrill of it.
Yeah. So, Sin City, I guess, right?
Shooting might have had that cash rate.
So that was one thing I wanted to have you on the show, because I wanted to get that out. I think it's a great idea. Can you just tell us a little bit about, because I don't know what that place is that you're at, or what.
Okay, we have many rooms here. We have a little close, I'd say close to 5,000 square feet of different sort of spaces for different sort of broadcast capability. We're going to be sound insulating each room.
Wait, time out. Hold on. Time out. Just before you get ahead of yourself, how do you get that kind of a spot? I mean, to be fair,
I have a very extensive portfolio. They say in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
True.
And once in a while, you're going to come in contact with somebody who it's what they know. Yeah. And then they know people because of what they know. So,
good call.
Aside from Flat Earth and aside from all the, the controversy of, me turning code on the establishment and stuff like that, I have a very, very, before I even, tangled with, high-powered players and stuff like that, I have a very, very formidable portfolio of work where I go into ghettos and I go into areas that, there's dilapidated buildings and whatnot, and then just, with what I know and how I code things and the coding systems that I use, I'm able to transform things with huge works of art on the floor. So the portfolio, it's very hard to get space here. I camped out at a friend's who was helping me do the shirts from May till about August, and it was literally like I just turned over my shoulder, and it just seemed like every person that had a for rent sign would not return my call, would not return my email, and I was like, what the heck's going on here? So I didn't know what's going on. That was a bit of a weird place. I was told this by some people. You have to watch out. Why would you go there? But I was determined, because I wanted to see at what point the chemtrails would follow me and it would make it rain. I'm so sick of being rained on. No matter where I went, I was like, and you know what? It started raining here today. So it's like, it's on a 5-year lease. So let's see if they're going to terraform the entire state of Nevada for little old me. So, but yeah, it rained today. We're just monitoring a few leaks in the back here. So, anyways, really literally like at the turnover, we did a live stream at my buddy's place that we were camping out at, me and Katie, and it was really good. We had a great run, just doing just rant rock, and we really worked out our sound, kind of. And then boom, the computer flatlined. The modem the morning after burst into flames. Literally burst into flames and was smoking and almost stitched up the wall. Like, they really didn't like that stream we did. So then I had to replace the logic board and everything. And they say, if somebody's going to cheat you out of your work or your destiny, like the devil or whatever it is, like, God will bless you tenfold. And I'm literally living proof of that, if you want to believe, or if you want to know that I went through that and then I got blessed tenfold. I mean, you don't need to believe it. I just you could call it luck, but it's like I get fucked with, and then boom, really good things happen. Like tenfold the fuck over. Yeah. And so I just literally turned over my shoulder and saw a sign on one building, and then immediately called. What I did is I went to get the computer serviced, in an area of town, which was the Arts District, like just about a 2-minute walk from the Strip. And I I literally was like pissed off about the computer and turned down the street. It was a one-way, and I literally looked over my shoulder and I saw a sign, and I called, and the guy said he just put the sign up an hour ago. So, you know, real estate here is really hot. And so I came in and I just waited for him. He says, I'm at the airport right now. I'll come down and show it to you. So it was really literally within 2 hours of the sign. And we nabbed it. I sent out all my portfolio, and the owners of the property, they do artwork themselves, like different types of work with iron. And they own a bunch of property here, and they saw my portfolio gentrifying, you know, neighborhoods and old buildings, and then boom, they're like, this is a perfect fit. So we're here 5 to 10 year lease, and it was really hell getting it going, like sweeping up this place. It was like dust from the ages. I mean, the place was kind of abandoned for 20, 30 years, and started laying down some resin, and then sanded it all down, started laying down some paint, and then we sealed it all up, and we filmed us making the floor so people could know I'm a painter, because it was at one point needed some smear campaign that I didn't even paint, so I thought, like, let's put all the rest in one place, and including let's put this whole thing to bed right now, and then start like really formidable productions where I'm going to book it a lot like a comedy club or you know, a rock venue, where it's basically you have the weekend. You come in Wednesday night, we hang out. You know, it has nothing to do with me. Stephen Englehart's going to be the production coordinator here. I just made the show. And there's a group effort here. There's a bunch of us that are involved, a bunch of donors and stuff like that are just regular people, but they took whatever they had and they gave me a little something and bought some shirts, and we were able to, you know, most of the build-up's been done out of pocket by me from artwork sales and floors, and also the rebate I got because of, you know, what I'm going to be putting into the place. And they basically want high heels on the sidewalk. So, I mean, that's the way it goes. You go to a ghetto, you do something really nice, and then you start having like soirees and exhibits and, you know, live shows, and the high heels start walking, and then suddenly the city starts seeing what's going on, and they put up parking meters. And that's pretty much, once the high heels start on the sidewalk, it's pretty much within 3 months that the parking meters go up.
That's very smart, and more power to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And
so that's why I was able to, you know, eke out this little deal. And so I'm like, I'm going to go all in. You know, I'm going to put the Flat Earth Club on the outside, and basically set up booking, and we're going to put people out that are going to promote one, because we're 2 minutes from the Strip, right in central Vegas. We're right by that tower. That's why we put the tower in the shot, so you can understand how close we are. Mm-hmm. We're literally like a 6-minute walk to that tower, and then we're 2 minutes from the Strip, like 2 minutes. You can see the Strip just on the corner, you know, the main Las Vegas Boulevard, and from there we could bark and hand out flyers for events here, and also in old downtown, which is about a 15-minute walk to the left, and then about a 35-minute walk or like a drive to the right. We can do the Paradise City Strip, which is where all the big boxes are, and just basically hand out flyers. And the shows are like $70, $50 on the Strip. So if we're doing like some sort of debate here for like $10, $15 with a little after party, I mean, yeah, we're going to scoop it up. We're going to scoop it up. We're going to get a liquor permit in time. We definitely want to, have like the Flat Earth community, like, representing and supporting, hopefully, so we can make this completely public. So in the beginning, it's going to be conference, private hall, BYOB or whatnot. So it's going to be, mostly production and broadcast until, I can accelerate this either with like people supporting it. Now just go get the permit, or I pay out of pocket just in time, and I just continue with the vision that I have. So, I mean, either way, I'm just looking to see at what level people are going to support. Like, okay, you're online. There's all sorts of shenanigans going online. How about we all meet in person and then like talk it out and see how do we conclude and how do we do this workaround, because it turned into a mess. Oh, yeah. With these, the media having these two people like, feed exactly what the media wanted. Okay, it's anti-Semitic, it's a religious cult of believers. I mean, that's exactly what I've always fought against with belief systems, because to be in a reality system, a reality-based system. This whole thing started with me going, the globe is also a religion. And then what do we have? We had all these Christians come in, and these sci-fi Christian ufologists, you turn this whole thing into a believer's camp, and they rolled with it. And I was like, that's not how this started. This started by actually putting the globe in the same camp as a religion, as a fucking organized religion. And so we got to kind of clean up this media smear. We're weathering, and I think we've flat earth is. But right now, the media has created a firewall with the mouth breathers, where they're not even going to look into it because they think it's just another cult.
But here's the thing about that is no matter what, that's going to be the case. I mean, I think we've done a decent job of trying to do the best we can to keep that out of the conversation, but that's what the media is going to do.
Believer keeps coming back up, like everything from your camp, TFR, it's believer. It's like,
well, we are. I mean,
I know there's no curving ground blocking the water from collide. There's no curving water.
No.
The ground and the water doesn't bend to make that sphere.
No, ever.
So I don't need to believe.
It's impossible to live on a sphere, in my opinion. And we're on the same page as you, but I do want to clear something up. I've heard you say it before, that you say something is compromised about TFR. And let me just speak, because I'm a host on TFR, that we have been given 100% content control, meaning I can say anything right now. Anything I want, anything you want. You can say anything. There's nobody who's going to edit the show.
That's why I'm saying it.
Good. We're good. But I do know what you're saying. There is.
It's not that. It's that Mark Sargent is owned by this guy Joe Leal, who worked at Warner. I called it all out. The narrative was Hollywood. I can't see copyright to such important scholarly work by being, agreeing to be in a reality series. With all of them kind of collapsed when I said I'm not going to cede copyright on this very important research I've been working on for 15 years, without it including a very, very, let's settle this with an expedition. So right now, the space here is about inviting TFR, inviting, just proving authenticity with that. I mean,
Matt, we got a break. 1 second.
Hi there, Chris Gio here. If you're like me, you've heard many shows on TFR discussing the healing benefits of CBD, the non-psychoactive components of the hemp plant. But with so many options out there, you've probably wasted a ton of money on hemp oils that contain alcohol, solvents, tasted horrible, or simply didn't work. That's why I'm pleased to let you know about ILife, a 99% pure CBD oil extract made with all organic ingredients, and best of all, it tastes great, and it works. But ILife is much more than just a hemp oil extract. It's a special blend of high-potency CBDs infused with B-cappy, the non-psychoactive components of the ayahuasca tea. If you're looking to help alleviate pain, inflammation, tremors, anxiety, depression, or simply rebalance your mind, body, and soul, head on over to ialife.com and get free shipping with coupon code TFR. That's ialife.com, AYALife.com.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Get back to nature and get back to health.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Jim Ram, retired.
In early 2012, I was facing a laundry list of chronic health conditions that my physician was telling me were incurable. I knew there had to be a better way, and I learned how I could reverse every one of my ailments with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. In just a few months, I was able to reverse high blood pressure, gastric reflux, sleep apnea, arthritis, degenerative disc disease, heart arrhythmia, AFib, and many more. And I've lost over 70 pounds and kept it off. Now I'm hosting a radio program that's dedicated to helping my listeners do the same. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're sick of being used as an ATM by your doctor, then you want to tune into the Your DIY Health radio program here on Truth Frequency Radio every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern and 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio. Real radio.
Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We are happy you're joining us. We have on the phone the great, the famous, the amazing Matthew Powerland. So before we went to break, we were talking about his Vegas current situation, which I think sounds awesome. And I just, when I hear the idea of putting 100 people on the street in Vegas
with those shirts on,
with those shirts, and then nobody has to feel uncomfortable about going up against a group of 5 people where it's just you, because
100 of us.
There's 100 of us. It gives you, it'll teach you how to conversate with these people that.
And if anything, it gets them to think.
I don't even think we need to conversate. I think you would just show up and just not say anything.
Unless people talk to you.
Well, if we're walking down the streets, there's going to be people. There's going to be people.
remember anybody except the famous person's name that's programmed in their head by television. So they go, Bill Nye, Flat Earth. So they're not going to find out all the Flat Earth videos or people that are making fun of Bill Nye or taking him apart in his logic. They're just going to get Bill Nye first making fun of the Flat Earth. And to this day, did you know that anybody who doesn't have those cookies or those algorithms where they're searching for conspiracies, the proper ones, and the proper, conspiracy realities or theories of reality, they find all the smear videos. When they type in Flat Earth, when they get home, because somebody told them Flat Earth, they get home, and the first thing that shows up is Flat Earth Society, which is fake. And Eric Dubay, and then, maybe deGrasse Tyson or Joe Rogan. So they don't get to you and me right away. They don't get to me till like way last. So that's suspect. The guy who started this with a comedy routine, all these people came in just 2 years ago above, and they're like handicapping it. But above them is still this FlatEarthSociety.org. So who's paying for that optimization on Google? The government. FlatEarthSociety.org is hired by the American government, and you may not know this. It's hired by the American government to go into schools, grade schools, primary schools, grade 1 through 6, to push the Flat Earth as a teaching tool for globalism or for heliocentric or for the globe. Did you know that? They have a contract with the U.S. government, the British government, the Canadian government.
No idea.
Yeah. They go around using Flat Earth, and how ridiculous that FlatEarthSociety.org's version of a Flat Earth is, with their gravity being compensated for a rising disk in space and all that stuff.
Or the one that they actually say that NASA...
Not to think of the Flat Earth and to accept it's a globe to kids, and to pay by the U.S. government to do that.
Makes sense, because on their site it says that, do you think NASA's lying? And their answer to that is, no, NASA doesn't know that the Earth is not flat. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Of course they know. They're the culprits, the main driving force of the globe religion. It's ridiculous that anybody would say that. So I agree with you about that organization. I mean, the one thing about them being high on Google results is because they're the oldest, website name. But I do agree with you that I think that they're not there on accident.
Here's where it gets really, really interesting. Did you know that website's reboot happened after I started the NASA channel on YouTube?
Wow.
I don't doubt that at all. I mean,
so I take out their label. I'm going to push Flat Earth by saying I'm the NASA channel.
It's like
these idiots took up NASA television on YouTube. If everybody knows on the web it's a channel, except the nerds at NASA, they call it television. So, they still got a television, right? So boom, I start this thing out. That first video we put up where I'm just faking planets, 3-4 minute video there. We were watching, because I had the perception test, photo painting, and then all of the space is fake, on a channel called Guy Waking Up. After I released it on stage on TV in 2007, I had a Guy Waking Up 2008. I wasn't getting any traction. I felt like they knew, okay, he's got a channel now, we know his IP address.
So Matt, tell me, before you get there, tell me this, because I know that there is questions in the Flat Earth community, and just to iron it out so that we know, is it that you yourself worked for NASA, or that people who worked for NASA? Like, what is the actual truth?
Here's where it's going to be very clear to you, okay, and everybody else. Because I think we're at that point right now where you can take it or leave it, and I don't care, okay? I worked at a place after 9/11, I talked about this over and over again ad nauseum. Now, I was always a hyper-realist painter. I went and studied poli-sci. And, like most human beings, there's people who won't absorb 9/11 being suspicious. Like, they won't absorb chemtrails. Like, they really haven't, it didn't jar them. It didn't affect them. I was in New York that day, and I was removed from New York by, I would say, coincidence, or was it supernatural phenomenon? Because I had a little voice in my head that said, no, Matt, you said you were going to leave at noon. And Sorry, you said you were going to leave in the morning if it was sunny outside when you looked outside the window. And I was leaving from Montreal to pick up the rest of my belongings. And so part of me said, no, I'll just sleep in. I'm tired. And I was like, no, this little voice. That's amazing. This little voice. It's me. I made a pact the night before. Like, it was a good weekend doing stand-up comedy. You're in the galleries. You're selling artwork. Go get the rest of your shit early. Get right back here because you got to be in the club doing stand-up and doing all this edgy material about nuclear bombs and all this shit. I was doing very edgy material, and I was starting to do the 6 club run, which is only there's only about 300 comedians that do that in New York City. You know, where you're going from club to club, and I just hit it. So Big Mouth is now going to be, you know, making fun of all the inconsistencies that they tell you on TV. Vis-a-vis what you see in reality, like in New York City, and I've got, you know, everybody looking at me already, like Saturday Night Live. I've got all these big moguls coming out and going, have you seen Matt Powell? Have you seen Matthew Boylan? You know, like, have you seen his stuff? You got to go out and check this guy. He's. But I didn't know there were people like actually like putting me on blacklists. I didn't know this at that time. I only found out after 9/11 when I was back in Montreal. So I just moved there. I was staying with my cousin, who's a documentary filmmaker, Barbara Herbick. You could check her out, and you'll see what she did. So she got nominated. She didn't win the Oscar, but they had to acknowledge her because she brought down the Iron Curtain almost, pretty much. Wasn't Reagan. My cousin was doing a documentary film about Russian mothers and American mothers and European mothers that were worried in the 80s of a nuclear holocaust. So they got together, these women. When women get together, that's when the world starts to change. And they started making these quilts, these peace quilts, like these big, huge flags, but quilted. And it was a phenomenon. And it was so big that the quilts were filling up stadiums. Like, they were booking stadiums so people could look at the quilts across a football field. And it was huge. So she did a documentary about these peace quilts, and it got nominated. And so I went down to help her with a documentary on a very controversial topic. She was working on it in 9/11 when 9/11 happened, but I also worked on it after I found out about the flat Earth with her as a consultant. Can you guess what the topic was?
Tell me.
Starts with an H.
The Holocaust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was one particular scrap of video that she smuggled out. I'm going to get a little Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark, at this point, I think people could swallow. But let's extrapolate 2015, and I'm explaining things. I had to, do a Cole's notes of my background. But I think at this point, with how big the flat Earth is, you can go research what I'm saying, and you can find out, you can find out about my cousin and stuff like that. Although her sister is very concerned because the Russians are trying to get a hold of this film right now. There was some Russian financiers, she got desperate, who are wanting the film, and we're both convinced, her sister and I, that they want to basically shelf the film. And this does have to do with flat Earth, with my research and what I came to uncover post 9/11, and then what I've discovered in Montreal with these people that were in the mafia, that I was in denial at the time, but I found out slowly, there was one guy who was an accountant for the Triads and the Italians, and I won't say his name because he still likes me, but I don't want to bother him. I don't want to bother this guy because he went to jail for laundering, and he was like the vice president at CIBC. I will just tell you that. It's like CIBC is a big bank in Canada. It's like an even more solvable. The banks in Canada are more powerful than the banks in the U.S. A lot of people don't know that because they're attached to the Crown of England. Mm-hmm. So the CIBC bank in Canada, he was like the vice president. And, this guy was laundering money for the fucking mob, and the mob was basically using. Anyway, I might as well just say it. They're using, this is according to the horse's mouth. This is according to the brother who was also a CEO at Cirque du Soleil, using the cirque industry to basically, to run drugs through the border to a circus tent. I mean, what customs official is going to unfold a fucking circus tent even if the dog's barking?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I smell it through that much tarp. So, this is what the brother told us on one night when he was, like, drunk. But the brother also told me while I was doing floors, we want to use these floors for graphics and imagery and stuff like that, and just to promote the place and use it when you're not here. So I got wind that people from aerospace were coming in, and NASA, and mixing with celebrity and mafia. And at one point he got a little high. He told me his brother's going to go into space. And I'm like, what? The guy who's, you mean your fire-breathing brother is going to go into space? This cokehead who has parties with all these hookers for Formula One races and on my floors. This guy's going to space in a Russian rocket. Now, the thing is about Guy is that he likes his bikes, and so does Putin. They're both bikers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you see right now, there's a narrative where Russia is the new, is being poised to be the new sort of peace broker, the world diplomat. This has to do with Flat Earth. This has to do with Russia saving NASA and saving the lie. And there will be a unification, a peace, a 7-year tribulation, if you want, like in the Bible, where Russia and the U.S. will make peace in the Middle East, give the east of Jerusalem to the Palestinians, and you're literally seeing, like, the book of Revelations, which was not written by a disciple or an apostle, it was written most likely by one of theirs and inserted by King James.
Right.
You really see this narrative playing out, and the Flat Earth has to do with this because I think it's kind of like it was the trigger or accelerated this. So I work with these guys, Cirque du Soleil, Circus of the Sun. So this is the only civilian that goes to space. This person who I know is involved with all these characters. And I designed a space for them after 9/11 because I rushed out of New York, and I was on the books as one of the only people to leave New York that day. I caught the last train out. My train was supposed to leave at 9. It left 11 minutes late. It was the only thing out. When they basically clipped my ticket, it was 9/11. So there was a lot of weird things that happened. And then, needless to say, I didn't return to New York that day because New York shut down. I didn't want my papers to work in the U.S. I was still a visitor working on, immigration and stuff. And the whole world changed. And so I was involved with a gentleman who was running a big sort of party space up in Montreal. I had my paintings there. And he said, well, wow, you just came back from New York after the towers came down. You should stay here. I mean, there's nothing going on. And so I'm going back in time before everything I told you. And I started painting floors. There was a floor that had a weird marble effect, and it was ripping up. And he said, do something with this. And I just started painting floors. We didn't know if we were going to live the next day. You know how it was after 9/11. It was like, it was kind of exciting. Like, it was like, what do I stand for? What's going on in the world? What body of work have I left? There's something that doesn't make sense about this whole thing. How do they know who did this while the towers are coming down? This is a huge breach in national security. If you know the name of the guy, and you're saying the name of the guy while the towers are in flames,
right,
then this is a failure in intelligence. A massive failure. So I wrote a report within 48 hours stating, as a political scientist, that I scurried off to all the intelligence agencies as a political scientist and a concerned citizen. I was using the fact that I just came from there. So I'm a person that was in extraordinary circumstances who's just a normal person, just an ordinary person with an exceptional ability in painting that was in extraordinary circumstances that go beyond time and space. And I happened to rub shoulders with people that were soon to be going into space, and I knew they were frauds. I knew their company, and now their company is owned by a bank. He sold out. But I know his brother's a fraud, a drug addict and a fraud that he was at the time. I know that he was as well. together a circus and all this stuff, and they might be very smart at that, and they succeeded. But the way they went about it, and the people that, you know, gave them a leg up, which is kind of sad, because here you got a guy who's like very talented. He can breathe fire out of his mouth, like total Luciferian type, bold Aleister Crowley type, and runs the biggest circus in the world, you know, $1 billion circus. And today, but back then, nobody would give him a leg up. So it goes to show, it's like anything that has a really good idea, you've got really good talent, it's like, it's still not enough. You still got to make a deal with the devil, right, or you got to be the devil. And people are willing to do that for their dream or their vision in life. I've handicapped myself by not doing that and just relying solely on talent and my mouth and my ability to bounce back from being beaten up and hit by cars and the luck of the draw and just and God. I would attribute this to God. And I know God personally. It's a personal relationship. It's not something where it's like, you know, I believe in God personally. I know God personally, and there's things that you know personally that no one else will ever know. Like, you know you can do something. You know you're going to do that. No one knows that. They have to believe you. So I think God, the enigma with God is that it's a fact, but it's a personal fact. And I feel bad for people that don't know God personally. I just do. I feel kind of, I have empathy for those who believe in God personally or believe in God in a group. I mean, I understand, but it's like, it's not.
They're taking other men's word for it, as I've always said, that you need to know for yourself. Yeah, they're going into a room and a dingling and da-da-da-da-da. Right. And there's no debate in these rooms, you know what I mean? Like, it's an organized theocracy or make-believe thing. So anyways, I went back to Montreal, and I didn't go back to New York, and there was this floor, and I started doing it. And this guy that was running the place, he's a really nice guy, French guy, and he knew the Lily Bertés, and they were always over. And the brother got fired because he was like just a party hound, and he was like vice president of marketing or something. So his brother fired his brother because he was just some playboy out of control. And which one is the poker player? Which one?
I don't know. I think it's probably Guy. You know,
I think it is. Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm probably paying a lot for being where I am right now, but at this point, I don't care. I've been throttled and fucked with so much, and it's like, I will give names. I will take it down, even in front of a dirty police force. I mean, you want to sue me for libel? I will go right into what your brother told me. I will go right into all the hookers and all the, you know, and I will go into his ex that even told one of my best friends that he's got a little boy out in Brazil he goes and frequents. Like, I'll go into everything I was told by his brother, right? And what I was told by people who were like, you know, around me, and I will go into you know, the history of these people, and you could just go through. I mean, if I need to, I'll go, this person was arrested for working at CIBC, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into it because I'm basically, they're the establishment, for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they're the establishment. Do you follow? The fact that there's this kind of retardation that needs me to say I got a fucking NASA paper, right? To go, okay, then that's a painting that I never saw, is also quite a bit of like scholarly data for me as I'm getting into the psychiatry, this whole thing. It's like, so we got human beings here that need, once again, you know, a pay stub from NASA. They need a badge from NASA in order to, so they still need this group thing. They still need this, you know, I come from that to go, okay, then that's not a photo. It's like, well, you can't discern that for yourself. This is about discerning for yourself. What has been revealed in Flat Earth is that there's not a lot of individual self-discernment.
Absolutely. If there's anything more prevalent
than that. So what we have here is something that the Crown of England, that the establishment, that the mafia knows more than us, that I've come to realize. Like, they've known this for thousands of years. They've been running it like Plato's cave, right? They created television. Television is a created invention. It doesn't work unless it's in everybody's home. And you know what I mean? Like you have like a whole system of wires and antennas broadcasting the thing. And who would care for that invention? It's not necessary. I mean, it's kind of necessary to market things, but we could have marketed things without television per se. It was definitely a project. Television was a project where they knew so much about the human mind, probably from Plato's Cave. Plato's Cave was probably real.
Right, and they knew that by showing images on a screen that you can evoke emotions.
This Plato's Cave allegory where it's like, imagine a bunch of people in a cave, and they never go outside, but they're born in the cave, and they're tied to a wall, and then they see a light cast on the wall, and they see shadows, and they think that's reality, until one day somebody comes in the cave, and then undoes the shackles, and they take them outside, and they see light hitting form, and they see reality the way it really is, right? That's supposed to be a philosophical allegory. I went a step further. I said, this is a way to cover up ritual abuse that they conducted when they had slaves over 5,000 years ago, and they probably put the children of the slaves in a cave, and they wanted to like learn about how human beings think something is real. Absolutely. And so television is a Plato's Cave, 2.0 of the 20th century, and so I'm realizing that they knew something about groupthink dynamics that I can't overpower. I'll never overpower the impressionability a human being has when there's a lot of people. So if they change the view count, if they bury the video, if they bury the channel, if they, as we film, even on my channel, where you do a like and then it removes the like. It removes the like. And actually, we've got many videos where and it was music, funny enough. They really seem to be threatened if we hit a good chord one night, because we're not doing anything scripted on our channel. There's no script. Like you're doing Raw tonight. There's no script, right? Right? But if you hit a note where it's like, it's almost like it's like a divine channeling, it seems to threaten the beast system. And that's why they created Hollywood. That's why they created this cookie-cutter, polished, final packaged product of, it's so polished, it must be good, But it's like, well, let's hear the musician, let's just improvise in the studio.
Hold on a second.
Was it a whole production like Eminem, where they have like 14 guitarists practicing in different rooms, and then he goes into the room and he goes, I like this one, and he's just like in a can.
Ella, and I'm 10 years old. My name is Ella. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the Sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the Sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection. From deception.
Special report, North Korea summit. The historic summit between the U.S. and North Korea is underway in Singapore.
With what sounds like the clicking of a million cameras, the President of the United States met, shook hands, and sat down for a get-to-know-you session with North Korea's Kim Jong-un.
Great discussion. I think tremendous success. They've been tremendously successful. And it's my honor, and we will have a terrific relationship.
Mr. Trump and Kim had exchanged harsh words a year ago over the North's nuclear and missile testing. Kim threw an interpreter.
The forest fire that is the Trump presidency.
That's just a few of the more interesting quotes from James Comey's new memoir describing his feelings about the current occupant of the Oval sets the tone for the rest of the day's meeting. Bob Costantini with the president in Singapore.
It's the first ever meeting between a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader. Former NBA star Dennis Rodman is also in Singapore and says he will provide whatever help is needed to his friends, President Trump and Kim Jong-un.
He should be fired for the terrible job he did until he was
White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow has had a heart attack. Correspondent Jeff Zeleny reports a 70-year-old made a TV appearance yesterday.
We last saw him on State of the Union here on CNN on Sunday. He was extremely worked up about what happened at the G7. Some White House aides thought he was actually uncharacteristically worked up by that. We have no reason or idea to know if that was related to his condition right now, but we do know that he's at Walter Reed Medical Center just outside of Washington, so the president obviously keeping an eye on that.
Financial disclosure forms released today by the White House show Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump made at least $82 million in outside income while working for the administration. Kushner's assets total at least $181 million. Modest gains today on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up 6 points. The S&P 500 up 3. The Nasdaq up 14.
After the recent hike by the Federal Reserve. On Wall Street, the Dow down 44 points. The S&P gaining 1. I'm Ann Cates.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
then it got into, you know, like having a signal working out in South Pole because of the power out. Somebody was talking about it and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, well, the signal's not working, you know why? And I was like, they laughed. And I go, why? And they said, well, because it's flat. And it struck me that there's people so powerful around me that were so cavalier and so matter of fact about the whole thing. And I know that was the beginning of, can this guy be part of the club? The club is basically, we're going to bring somebody who's smart, but does he have ethics where he cares about everybody? And I tell you, I mean, when I look back, maybe something I didn't know about the human condition, but I pretty much made my choice. If I knew back then what I know today, how the flat Earth would fall for all these fakes and go into the zealotry and believe and be so scattered and how many attacks I would get, and I know that I have a kid on the way and I'm married. You know, if I knew what I know today, what happened to my work 15 years, like getting this out, and how I ended up, you know, there's still a chance I got a club here. But if I would have seen what happened to me in the future, like a Scrooge,
right?
I don't know if I wouldn't have taken the deal.
And you know, as hard as that might be for people to hear, it's a real question we need to look at because.
Look how I'm being slandered.
Right.
Look how I'm being buried. Look how difficult it's got.
Yeah, the question becomes.
Now, my wife is pregnant, and that changes everything, doesn't it? I will say this: it's like I am glad on one side that I got the world to know that, hey, this isn't over. That's the cartoon.
Right.
Now you have to believe it's around and admit that you believe it. So you're in a belief system, not a reality.
Right. And if these people can't ask the question of why is there not a photograph?
I had nothing to lose. I lost the girl that, you know, was on my channel that was like pushing this with me, and she was cheating on me with this guy behind my back the whole time, and she was like, this guy's flat, she wasn't even true. So when she was gone, I was like, okay, what would I be doing right now if she was in my life? Oh yeah, that's right. It's fucking flat. And so within a year for leaving me, I was able to just be full flat alone out in Florida and meet people, put videos up. And then suddenly, you know, Sergeant DeBay showed up, and I was like, okay, is this it? When are these two going to try to turn this thing into something that's not going to work? Where it will be ammo for the mainstream to discredit it. You know, when will they do it? It was within a month and a half of them coming in, and I was like...
Let me ask you this. Don't you think that no matter what that's going to happen? Because I'm just saying my perspective of that...
It wouldn't happen if people would have, like, understood. I've been 15 years as a political scientist studying this.
But they would have just kept putting... They would have put somebody in.
It took me 3 years of research before I went on a stage.
Right.
Like how I'm going to break this to the public after what I found out. I waited 3 years. I saw Jake Gibson come to this after 6 months going, I'm good. You know what I mean?
That's why he is where he is now. I mean, the reason why is because
he did it. He's going to come out with this, like, and he's going to have to learn that he's now a glober, that his fan base is globers, right? Yep. He doesn't have flat earthers, right? They're all agents or they're globers. And they just like the fact that he's going in there and fucking it up with a cube or whatever he's doing now. He still thinks he's got flat Earth on his side, and he's winning for flat Earth. He doesn't understand his fan base is fake, and they're globers. So, and he's playing to them now. So it's like, why are you doing that? Are you purple along? He did film my entrance, and I did get robbed, by the way. And I always knew that this guy had a shelf life. And I've made several olive branches to this kid, and there's just every sign shows that he's rather possessed by his own self-entitlement and his delusion of being some superpower or a superstar, or either or it's a combination of both. Sometimes he uses idiots to get the job done better. Useful idiots are better than an actual like conscious agent. So that's what I'm saying. You watch out who's around you. You know what I mean? Because they know your profile. They know, okay, this guy needs to pay this bill, or he's got this, I've got a child coming, and, I'm working at...
So let's start there real quick. So congratulations on getting married, but you're saying that she's pregnant, huh?
Yeah.
Very
yeah,
awesome.
If it's a girl calling her, thank you. If it's a girl calling her Ever, and if it's a boy, we're calling him Atlas, but then I'm worried about the pressure of that. So I might call him Adrian. I don't know.
That's awesome. Now, I saw recently on some of your videos that she's not there with you. Did she go somewhere or something?
Well, so we signed the lease, we've been building it out, and it was pretty nice. It was a nice honeymoon in Las Vegas from, California, although we were staying in cramped quarters trying to find a space. We were staying in, a host was nice enough to help us out. And it looked like it was a great place to be. There were guys with blue all the time. I signed the lease, and then boom, they started bombing us with chemtrails. And so the last 3-4 weeks, Katie's been going through the symptoms, and it got really bad, and then she started having breathing issues and blood from the nose and stuff. And I'm like, so she's like, you know what? I'm gonna go back because she has a license to be a skincare specialist in Florida. So she's got a license here, so she's gone back to get some clean air, although I heard it's now follow her there, and do what she's good at, her profession, support away some money for the kid, and also for her courses, so when she comes back here in the spring, before they start spraying Zika, I said you're getting the heck out of there. So when they start announcing there's Zika everywhere, then you get the heck out, and then you're coming back here. So that's what's going on right now. And plus, we're still in the build-out here. Katie's not a big builder. She's more content provider and a social light and stuff like that. So the whole forte here is not accommodating to where she's at with pregnancy. So we want to make sure that the baby's forming properly. There's a dust issue here. I mean, Vegas is a good place to come in and out. I mean, I'm a cowboy, so I can handle it. We sealed everything here, and we're moving towards putting purifiers in every room so that literally the air quality of the place when you walk in will be probably one of the best air quality readings in the world, including being in the jungle. So I'm moving towards really using my colleagues to seal this place. So you come in here and you got a reading and you're like, wow, this is the cleanest air you can breathe. So little things like that. We want the place to also showcase that fire isn't just cold. It's not just a bunch of classes. So when you come in here, we've got very, very advanced design. We've got very, very impressive technologies. I'm going to be unveiling a new formula for cement, which will be stronger than any formula cement in present construction, almost as strong as the cement in Rome. So it's going to be a place where we're going to be showcasing technologies that prove that we are a team that can develop technologies to go across the Antarctica in big groups. Right? So we want to be a formidable force, not just a mouthpiece. And I think that's what has protected me all along from the mafia and the establishment, that I have technology that they don't have. I have know-how. I have a what you know that attracts who you know. Because they want it. They want it for the bunkers, they want it for their military ships, they want it for the submarines, they want it for camouflage, and it should be nice. Because, I could help them if they have a war. You know what I mean? If I need to go that route. This is obviously something we're trying to avert as well with the unifying expedition, where the whole world can be a part of the thing. But for the workers, it looks like they're playing for keeps. I mean, they haven't built an empire like this for thousands of years based on a lie, without having some awful treaty with some other civilization that wants us all kept in the barn area. And then do what it takes, just keep them in that area of geography. If you need to play with the sun to tell them something else, do it. And it seems like that's what's going on here. If we need to really simplify this in a street smart manner, that's what's going on here. You just have to look at the paranoid security perimeter around Antarctica, how these 47 nations that are usually enemies are all getting along down there. So, I don't see this as hiding God. I see this as a real estate phenomenon. Real estate is what runs the world. It's what drives the market forces for oil, gas, potash, lumber,
Well, think about this too. If you're looking at reasons why they haven't let free energy come out, or these kind of things, it's because as long as they have every vehicle operating under gasoline or fuel, what happens is nobody can take a plane and fly to Antarctica not knowing what's past it, because you don't know where you're going. You only have so much fuel. It's too scary of a trip. So they've also used that.
Like I said in one of my last videos, it's like if you start looking at the world of the globe as if you start looking at it as like, what in the world of the globe would they have to secure to hide the lie that not at all?
Just be the edge.
Antarctica, flight routes. I mean, so much is energy, because if you had steam, why would you stop steam power? Right? Right? Because if I can take the water and turn it into energy, right? Well, then I can cross Antarctica with, unlimited, limitless fuel source. I would just be scooping up the snow. Right? And if I use hydrogen, well, we gave hydrogen that name, because it is explosive, with Hindenburg, right? Well, hydrogen is in ice, so I can extract the hydrogen from the ice and then convert that into a fuel source as well. So these are, free energy or energy from hydrogen or from air or from water is means across Antarctica. So that's also why we just have gas.
Right.
We like batteries because they allow the shelf life, right? We like solar because we can block the sun with chemtrails. We like wind because we just shut the wind down, or we just change the currents with jet stream and scalar. But hydrogen or steam or water, well, you can go across the ice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely what the I guess you can say the secret comes down to is Antarctica. It is the end all be all.
David Wolf has been very on point. I even reached out to him. I like that David Wolf present here. I reached out to Santos Bonacci. I reached out to you. So, I mean, we're reaching out to people where, they might have some, things that I don't necessarily agree with, although with David Wolf, I don't know if he eats meat. I know he's a raw food advocate. I don't know if that includes steering meat. What's that?
He eats meat.
Yeah, so I mean, like, he's right on point. I mean, he's right on point. But I don't know if my Facebook message is getting through to him. I know that he's brought me up in a couple videos. I don't know if he knows this place is available. So I'm also at the mercy of the airwaves, right, and the internet. So I don't know how my correspondence is getting out there. I don't know if people are seeing stuff because I had any, like, just the last 2 weeks, like during the last 4 weeks, the New Year's Eve party, I basically got blocked by Facebook from inviting my own friends.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
And people were sharing the link and it was broken. So then we had to make duplicate event pages, and then it's like, well, one got 8 people, one got 6 people, and so once again, that group think dynamic that the royalty and the Pope know is basically the weakness of humanity, none of them are self-reliant and individual with their discernment. That's that play on Facebook every day with the amount of likes and, the amount of people that are showing up and the attendees. So the fact that we got blocked, I'm like, wow. And then people were sharing it and they were saying the link is broken. There's nothing there. I got screen caps over and over again. I mean, it's just like, so I definitely did splinter cell with everybody. And but we're at that point right now where it's like, me as a researcher that started this modern movement against the grain of this fake operation called Florida Society based out of England that's hired by the U.S. government to go into schools to use fire as a teaching tool to rally the kid behind a cartoon ball and a toy in the classroom. Basically, I need to have as many people mirror splintering this thing. And I knew that with Guy Waking Up when I started that before the Master Channel. That we have many channels, we had to start splinter selling this along many channels and make it look like it's everybody's going flat. So we had many channels pushing clutter, and then suddenly I was like, well, why not just take the Master Channel? And, and I took it up, and then we actually watched that first video, which I was mentioning, but I didn't finish. And at 3 minutes, I actually would see the U-turns rising in front of my face. I was at the deck, and I called over my girlfriend at the time and my co-producer. I was like, get over here, and we were watching it like a speedometer go up to 1 million within a day. And all we did was me taking the planet with artwork and a light source taking a look at like the sun, and it was titled Flat Earth and How They Fake Space. And that was what I ended up calling the video. Actually, the first title was like NASA discovers Earth-like planet behind the moon. I had no idea there was that many people that hate our world and are looking for something else. And I think that's what NASA, which is very satanic, NASA preys on that psychology. Like,
they're the ones who instill it. They're the ones who get everyone to think that we need something else.
Let's go back to 500 years ago, where it's like, there was Columbus saying, nah, there's more land. And people going, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, you're going to fall off the edge, it's just water, you're going to freeze, you're going to drown. And he went from one royal court, he's Italian, the Italian royal family ignores him. They must be ashamed of themselves. They missed out on an entire parcel called America. How stupid a royal family can be. Or was it all like on purpose and finally had an affair with the Queen of Portugal and got 6 ships because they didn't bang the Queen? Because, Russia was already here, they had Alaska, I think, or, they were 55 miles with 2 islands off, you could do that with the canoe. And the Chinese were already over the Inuit, and then you could see that in the traces of all the, the natives out in Mexico and stuff, and they came down. So, part of me thinks there might have been a big huge war between Russia and China, not just with Native American Indians. And Alaska was a consolation prize, a truce. And they gave him, what, $6 million or something for Alaska back then. So something else was going on here because Alaska, and I actually think America is a Russian word. How blasphemous is that? Because you'll start hearing people like General Kelly and stuff like that saying America. They say America, and they don't have a southern accent, but they're doing it with a U. They're going America. And America, I think, was the Russian. I don't know how they spell America, because we all spell the other stations
with a K.
Different language, right? So how do they spell America and they spell it with a U? I don't know, but I mean, America and Alaska, right? Alaska is Russian. Where did the word America come from? That's not native Indian.
No, it's supposedly some guy, some explorer, but I mean, yeah.
I'm not pulling shit out of my ass, but I've often pulled shit out of my ass, and I've turned out to be right.
Well, I love what you said the other night about where the fruit flies come from, because as funny as people may think it is.
Somebody got an argument about that with me. They said, well, the eggs are already in the fruit. And I'm like, and? There's a creature's eggs in every fruit. That's creepy too.
Think about this. I mean, lice is, the head lice is to protect your body from body lice. But when we get head lice, we shave kids' heads, we kill the lice, we get rid of them. But if you really, where did the lice come from? Where are they? Where do they? If you just have your house and then the lice appear in your child's head, where do they come from?
I put that out there, and it opened up. I put it out a couple times, but the last time I repeated it again. I think it kind of congealed after 3 times, and I got all sorts of interesting information about sugar being a portal for demonic entities. Refined sugar. I mean, it's making people beasts. I mean, it rots your teeth. I mean, sugar itself, right? If abused, is some sort of portal for evil. I mean, I was just very interested, like the fuel for evil. Like it's known that it can cause cancer. If you've got cancer and you're still drinking the juice with 20, 30 grams of processed sugar in it, the apple juice, that's just the cancer feeding off that sugar. And cancer, and chemtrails are dropping the cancer cells, blah, 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 goes on and on. So it's like, the sugar thing opened up an interesting, where do they come from? I mean, this comes from New Zealand, like this, I laughed. And I was like, once again, I had this laugh, because that kind of ignorant laugh when somebody brings up like flat earth, and you go, so why is it funny? I mean, like, and whenever I have that laugh when somebody brings up, now I'm cognizant, and I go, now why did I laugh at that?
Exactly. That's the point people need to get.
if people could actually get to there psychologically, you know, like, so why is that funny for me? You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I can imagine somebody who's racist and go, black people are just as equal as us, and they go, ah! And it's like, you know, like maybe they're too far gone because they're laughing at that. But I mean, like, if those people too can just like, why am I thinking that's so ridiculous? You know what I mean?
Or what do they call facts that are just things that they've been told? I had a guy yesterday tell me, you know, this star is 1.5 times as bright as the sun. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? How do you're just saying things that are in a book. That's not how I operate anymore. So I used to. I used to be just like everyone else, and if I read it in a textbook, this must be true. But once you get to this point of your research, you have to realize that anything that they tell you, pretty much the opposite is true. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I had a guy tell me he was a great guitarist, and I'm still friends with him. And he told me back in 2002, while this whole thing was starting to congeal with the, you know, out there working the 6away, and this is this crossover between mafia, banking, aerospace, NASA, Hollywood, and then lo and behold, then NASA, because he's going up in a Russian rocket to go and place, you know, cosmonaut. And they're both bikers, you know, Putin and him. Putin's an actor. I mean, these people are janitors for very, very powerful entities, and they're here to keep us in areas, and they're here to save the model. And they're scrambling right now with accelerated Agenda 21, with accelerated World War III, or at least a theater that it could happen. Like there's some disciplinary action to reset the world. Right now, they keep falling down.
The ayahuasca vine is the non-psychoactive component of the South American healing ceremony, ayahuasca.
We know you're out there.
It is known for its anti-parasitic properties, both physically and spiritually, and is considered the spirit of Aya.
You have a business and you want
the hemp plant has been considered a miracle healer by natives around the world for the powerful non-psychoactive component, cannabidol, also known as CBDs.
Can't wait to hear the next
These miracle plants have been reported to aid relief with everything from inflammation, chronic pain, tremors, anxiety, heart palpitations, depression, and much more. For the first time, we have created the perfect synergy of the hemp and ayahuasca plants to bring you a perfect balance of mind, body, and soul. We call this Aya Life, and you can find it at ayalife.com. That's AYALife.com.
All you have to do is contact TFR.
Wouldn't you love to have a really sharp memory? More than ever before, people of all ages are struggling with memory problems.
This is iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio makes you want to move. When you have a great melody,
reducing stress with a dietary supplement called No Club.
I love it when the beat goes.
Did you know you can listen to Truth Frequency Radio on iHeartRadio? Just download the app to your smartphone, or smart TV, and get the best of TFR wherever you are. Common predators created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in
Love Talk Radio. Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 for the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free app from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
A message few of you will be able to believe. A message I alone was able to read in the fires of the universe. I also bring you the means with which to save yourselves.
What are you selling, Mr. Snake Oil?
Bring your friends here.
My name's Jimmy, and every Friday and Saturday night, right here on Truth Frequency Radio at midnight Pacific, straight out of Santa Cruz, California, I'm cooking up a fresh edition of Into the Microcosm. It's not just a show, ladies and gentlemen. It's an adventure.
We will share up to the
every Friday and Saturday night. Your number one alternative to the alternative
and with hope for peace.
And the underground.
Won't you?
www.
Click the iHeart app
TFR Live
for the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Good times ahead. See you there.
News for your heart.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear. RTFR.
If you don't mind me just interrupting, Katie was part of a weird Crime Stoppers show where she had a friend growing up. I don't know if I should mention this, but anyway, she had a friend growing up, like a distant friend. She didn't have many friends as a girl, but she killed her dad. So she did a scene in the reenactment of this crime where she was basically, like she was a friend, and she basically was part of the show. When you go on IMDb and you look up this show, they give a credit to the killer. They give a credit to the killer. What? And you know I'm not kidding. Do you know whose face they put as the killer?
No,
they put my wife's fucking face. No. And they just did this. Yeah.
But you know anybody can do that, right? I mean, I have a...
yeah, but why are they doing donation. You can email me at mathpowerland@gmail.com. You can go to the NASA channel. Most of the recent videos and live shows have the PayPal donation button. I will send that to you. And then when we do our 100 people mob, you can come down. We're also going to have like 100 shirts in store here when we're ready to do it. So you can wear it as a prop, and if you want to buy it, you can walk home with it. So we're going to be arranging that flash mob probably sometime early spring, early summer. So the idea here is that we're just stamping, making these flat earth clubs all over the place. Our next target is Phoenix, because a lot of people in Phoenix are flat, and it's just our next target could be in like Panama City, like Panama. Our next, the goal is that we have these flat earth clubs all over the place. That's why the new channel, the NASA channel, is laboratory, where people can like make fun of us for doing a raw take. But then if you want to see how Hollywood works, which you'll never see, you can see the take after take on the NASA channel, and you can see the polished, slick productions on Flat Earth Club International, which is the new YouTube channel where all the polished stuff, not laboratory, all the slick production, Hollywood style, good sound, good music, everything will be uploaded. So if you don't like us like working shit out with music or ranting or whatever it is, you can go look for the best of the best polished, and you'll see how Hollywood really works. Because we're not afraid to show you behind the scenes production and then show you the final product. So Flat Earth Club International is going to be the new YouTube go-to, where you can see polished production. You're going to see how we're doing build-outs in every city over the years to come. And our goal is basically to keep making these clubs all the way to the tip of Argentina. So we can have like a huge resort right there, waterfront property where the boats could dock, and we can have yacht after yacht just docking at the Flat Earth Club that's pushing an expedition across Antarctica. And we can look out with our binoculars and telescopes and just watch the 47-nation army of Armada just send their Navy ships to block us from doing a boat rush. So our goal is to gaslight the entire Antarctic conspiracy project of the Antarctic Treaty members with a resort right on the tip of Antarctica, right on the tip of South Africa, right on the tip of Tasmania, and we can just have our zooms and our lenses and our optics, zooming in on how they're panicking that we're that close with that many yachts and boats. So we definitely want to move this towards a country club, upper middle class, people who have money with boats and ships, or people that are pooling their money together to buy boats and ships. So if they're not going to allow us to do a legitimate crossing expedition, we can basically gaslight them on the shores of South Africa, South America, and Australia. So, the known continent really close, New Zealand as well.
Right. No, I mean, definitely, because I'm all about getting as much of the word out there as possible, because that's what we need to do to get people who do have money to get a boat or do have money to take these expeditions, because I know it's not me, but I feel like we just need people to keep hearing it. It wakes people up. I mean, the amount of emails I've gotten from people saying that everything that you've done or that anybody's done has woke them up. I mean, no photos of the Earth, and there's no 24/7 from a craft that's been in orbit for 19 years. That's all you need to tell people. Photo or painting, you believe in painting. You believe that's where you live just because someone told you. That's not the way we should appreciate or respect reality, because your senses tell you everything about reality, everything that you need to know. So why are we accepting these people who maintain their riches and their high status in society only if they keep the lie?
Yeah. It's definitely, I think Antarctica is like the word they don't want to be said over and over again. I mean, I think that's the comedy word. It's just like Antarctica.
Why do you think that like Buzz Aldrin and John Kerry, why are these big names going down there? And why was
Buzz Aldrin went down there?
Yeah, he just went to Antarctica,
and he fainted.
And he had to get rushed to a hospital because it was bad for the altitude was too much for Buzz Aldrin.
Well, it's just like, you know what, like, dude, you are the fake that we hired, and now you want to go to Antarctica. We have to let you because you're Buzz Aldrin, but fuck. What the fuck you doing here? We paid you. So
I think maybe I've heard people mention before that could be where the set was.
And he was having flashbacks.
Yeah, he had flashbacks. And if you think about it, the launches that leave Florida are heading towards where? Heading towards Antarctica.
I don't think they need to make it that complex. I really think that the sets. I know that Area 51 is a big set, like where they have all the rooms with the stones. that they use as reference, like Jupiter, Saturn, Venus. So the stones that they used, that they chose, the tumbled marble stones, they're suspending in rooms, sound studios, in Area 51. I mean, I can't tell you how I know that. That I can't tell you, because that's like, I'm still working with that person, and they're, yeah. Anyways, I can't tell you that. I'm still working with that person. So.
I didn't expect to come out with more questions after this conversation.
The thing is not going to end. Like, there's going to be, like, if people thought, like, oh, he said everything and there's not more information, there's things that I can't say right now. I have to wait. It's almost like I got to wait till the person defects.
Right.
And when somebody leaves the Soviet Union and defects, or they come out and they say, it's okay, you can do that. Because I do respect confidentiality. But, yeah, Area 51 is a set.
Yeah, as do I. I mean, I've heard things from people that I can't repeat because I at least respect their privacy and them. If I said something to somebody and said don't say anything, I would hope they would hold true to that.
Like doing a resort right on the tip of Argentina where boats go up. That's kind of what I'm doing right now by being in Las Vegas. We got the Circuit Industry here. We got Area 51. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do a little Flat Earth musical. I can hand out flyers. Because I'm going to do a little Flat Earth musical as well. We are in Vegas, so we're going to do a Flat Earth musical sooner or later, which is going to be, like a whole musical version of this entire thing.
Missa just volunteered to be a part of that. I did not, however. But.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a Flat Earth musical. I mean, that's what we're moving towards here. Like just a professional, 1.5 hour, sort of like solid Flat Earth, the musical. Like, we will do it, where the Globers can come in and go, that was fun, and they just don't, and then people will be able to go and go that, like, I want Globers, it was amazing, but it's just a joke, obviously. And then other people going, no, those dummies don't get it. It's like, it's all in that. So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of projects we want to do here. We're going to be doing, product launches. That's afraid too, because
absolutely, definitely.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So they're worried about losing everything that they they have.
and it seems to me like the guy's legit. But I understand people don't think that, and they can think whatever they want.
But, I mean, to be honest, these people like B.O.B. and Kyrie Irving actually reached out to the people like you and I that started this thing. I mean, they never reached out to us. I'm like, I'm willing to have them come out and talk. I'm willing for B.O.B. to come out and do a set and sell tickets here.
Right. No, I agree with that. And B.O.B.
I mean, it's a sick club. I design clubs all over the world. I've designed stuff right here on the Strip. It's like sick rooms. But my room is sicker than the stuff I've done for clients. So it's like, why are these people not wanting to come out and do like a private, intimate, situation where it's like we get like a couple hundred people here?
Well, I think that to be fair, but to be fair, you just started this place. So I mean, I think before it was kind of
we just started the place. Right. Yeah, I know. But the idea is that we get the word out that we are now offline on street level, like right on the Strip, like we're here.
Right. And that's
we are here. After 2 years of me saying I'm looking for a place, I chose my town. I chose my small town with loose morals and
Exactly. Well, that's good. I'm gonna let you go because we've only got a few more minutes left, and I do appreciate you coming.
Because I'm just about to run out of power. But yeah, let me know when you're thinking of coming out to Vegas or whatnot, and then we'll see how we can work things out with scheduling. I'm in and out too because I got other things, but Steven is here as well. He's gonna be like a man himself.
You said you have a link for the shirts. Where is that at on your channel? I can find that.
I would have to send that to you.
Is it in one of your video descriptions?
Your email? Yeah, I'll text you because that will really help us. Well, help me instead of me just always pulling money out of my pocket for this thing.
All right, well, just text me the link and I'll put it in the description.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks a lot. And Missy, you've been great as always. And then listen, let me know when you're thinking about coming out to Vegas.
Sounds good. We'll let you know.
And please, reach out to David, and by all means, let's get everybody's got a photo painting shirt and converge in Las Vegas and just really control the city, control it like within 2 seconds with this shirt, and control the world. And if you control Vegas, you control LA, by the way.
Yeah, and I know the answer to the question too. The answer is painting.
And if you control LA, you control the world.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. Talk to you soon. Great talking to you. Bye.
I feel like I was in a marathon.
A marathon, yeah. That was I really liked that. That actually went a lot better than I thought it would.
Did it?
Yeah, because I thought that maybe it would be hard to.
Like confrontational, or
no, not confrontational. More like all over the place in terms of like subject matter.
That wasn't all over the place.
Well, I feel like at least it flowed in a very.
In a Matthew Boylan kind
of way. What's it called?
Coherently
way. Is that what I said?
I would not agree, but no, it was good. I mean, with him, you're always going to be everywhere.
It was better than the conversations we've had before, like where it was hard. It was hard to tell before if he was listening to what we were saying.
Right.
It was hard, but this time we were actually conversing. It was really good.
Yeah, I think that the reason that I reached out to him and said, "You want to come on the show?" which I've done before. But was his recent video that I watched where he had this idea of this nightclub and that he had this place, and it was like, well, if this guy finally got a place, then let's have him on the show.
And 100 people walking around with the shirts.
I thought that was a great idea. I mean, it's just something I'm always looking for ways to
new ways,
new ways to get the information out there, because I think based on what I've seen from emails, from messages, from comments, there is a lot of people that see this and immediately it resonates with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of thing where, I don't think at this point it can be stopped. Whereas before, like even at the very beginning when there was just, 10 of us or 20 of us talking about it, it seemed like I felt like if we don't get this information out, it could be squashed forever. If I don't get this information, if they take me out, then this information won't continue on.
Right.
I no longer feel that way at all. I now feel like it's got such a head of steam that even if we disappeared and Matthew disappeared and Dubé disappeared, there's enough people out there making videos along the same lines, putting NASA's feet to the fire, putting some of these liars' feet to the fire, that it's going to continue to move on, because there's just, people need to realize that what they believe that they live on is a picture. I mean, that's the answer to the question, photo or picture, photo or painting. It's a painting.
And what people will eventually, I think, realize too, what we realize, that the whole idea of Because some people will be like, so what if it's a painting, like cool or whatever? Well, it is the mindset. The globe is the mind is a way of living. The globe is it
creates shackles.
It's a culture. They have you on a globe, and that affects everything that you do in your life, whether you recognize it or not. And most people don't.
Right. There's nowhere to investigate. There's nowhere to explore. Everything's been discovered.
It's a mistake, or it's a random act of.
It's a random accident.
Gravity.
And really, we've said it a million times. It's just when you get into all these speeds and distances, they don't exist in reality. That it should be required of us before we believe something. Somebody needs to prove something before you put it in your pocket as truth. So when somebody tells you that the closest star is 25 trillion miles away, for us to have ever put that in the pocket of truth.
Well, we were taken advantage of.
Sure, but
we
I'm
didn't
just saying.
Buy it. We were.
No, I didn't say buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said put it in our pocket. So
well, we put it in our pockets as we walked out of school with this as truth, because whether
we were
or not
told it was true.
Absolutely, that's what I'm
we
saying.
We were little.
Right, but we still had an option to decide to believe it or not, and we just chose to believe it.
I don't know if we had an option at that age.
Well,
because we're not told
you're right.
that we have
when
an
you
option.
come out of 6th grade, no matter what, you have to believe in the globe. There's no other alternative. You believe in the globe. But what I'm saying is, we did have an option to say, I don't believe what you're saying. We just didn't. Nobody thought that was a good road to take.
Well, nobody knew that was an option.
That's what I said. But I'm saying that they didn't know it was an option, but we did have the option. I mean, nobody.
But it was taken away from us.
Correct. And now we're opening that back up. Now
the people who now are older, who are hearing about this, who continue to fight it, those are the people who I think there's an option to look at things in a different way if they don't want to.
Or if you think about 10 years ago, people coming out of high school, what percentage of people believed we lived on a globe? 99.9999%.
Yeah.
But today, I think if you ask that question, that percent may be down a few percents, because people have seen and they're allowed to question it now.
Mm-hmm.
Now they say, yeah, we were told this in school, but maybe it's something else.
And that's what I think the whole idea of the Vegas thing that Matthew wants to do, that's what entices. That's why I kind of like how he said, whether it's the hollow earth versus the flat earth or the globe earth or this, he's like just getting people to recognize that there is another way of looking at the earth. And especially if there's other ways of looking at the earth that are more palpable than the globe, just getting their minds to open in that direction is mostly almost sometimes all you can do.
Right. Like everything that we've been taught must be the way that they say in order for their belief to be true.
Yeah.
Meaning, the stars need to be a minimum of 25 trillion miles away. The sun has to be 93 million miles away. And that's why it's so difficult to prove otherwise, because they've had years to construct the story.
Yeah.
And people may say, oh, well, it's a true story. Well, look into exactly how we got to where we got, how we know that stars are a certain distance away. And their system works because they've told the story around it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, they say that they use parallax to determine how far these stars are away. And they say, oh, well, 6 months later, we measure from this point, and then we're on the other side of the sun. Well, just in the fact that you're on one side of the planet, then you're on the other side 6 months later, would make parallax true. So their proofs are in the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's not proof of anything, because it's in your model. It must be true.
It's like the Bible.
Yeah.
When people say that the Bible is God's word because the Bible says so.
Because the Bible says so.
It's
right.
the same thing.
They use the same thing. That's what I mean when I get frustrated. Like, how did we fall for that? How do people fall for something so simple as? So where did God say that book is His word? In that book. It's like, well, that's not. Where did things make a prophecy that came true later? Oh, in the book. You mean it was told at the beginning and came true later?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. People don't, and I agree with. I'm totally right there on the same page as you. But it's not that we fell for it. We were taken advantage of. If we were 15, then I would say that we fell for it because we had time before that to see life in another way. But when you are born in a Christian family, you're born into the globe, you're born into school, like you don't. There's nothing from before to tell you that that's kind of weird. Like that's the first thing you see. So that's going to be the basis of, I know what I mean? Like it's not that we fell for it, it's that it was all we saw.
Yeah.
But if they brought it up when we were 30 years old, we'd be like, hold on, we are not spinning, we are not, whatever.
No, I totally agree. I feel like maybe I try and place the blame on myself because I really do. I mean, I was so young that how would I know? How would I question gravity?
I think you could blame yourself now if you stopped.
Right. But I still kind of look back and say, I felt like I was a smart child, so I should have recognized some signs. And there's people, we've talked to people, Jordan Maxwell, other people, that have said early on in school they knew that they were being taught lies. So it is possible.
I don't know if that even is true, though. They might be just saying that.
Maybe. Eddie Bravo said it. Eddie Bravo said he knew in high school that he was being taught lies.
Well, in high school, that's different. Not when you're in first and second grade and third grade and fourth grade.
True. And he also said he could never question the globe. Again, that wasn't even in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate you guys joining us. I know the show is over. As always, it's very quick. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in week by week and for watching my channel and the Jeranism RAW channel. And if you want to support us, if you want to see us do more of the same and better videos, more videos, you can donate at paypal.me/Jeran, which is Jeran, or you can become a patron at patreon.com/Jeranism. It would be extremely helpful. We thank all the patrons that have joined so far.
Amazon.
And Amazon, the link to Amazon is j.mp/JeranAMZ. And if you go there before each shop, you pay the same price. We get 2% on most items. That'd be awesome. Also, there is a new store that Mitchell started making. It is a $5 a month store. If you ever shop Amazon. So it's Amazon.com/Jeranism.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/signup and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR.
Special report, North Korea summit. The historic summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un continues in Singapore.